Everybody, my name's Joshua Morrison, director of Johnny Moz's Lessons in Confidence, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about the little things that you might see in various YouTubers or creators, or things on the internet, or things in real life, or things just in general that just kind of annoy you, and yet you can't really understand why. You just kind of look at it and you kind of just think, ugh. Like right now, the way that I'm sitting, this kind of like cross-legged, like half cross-legged, half sort of knees touching kind of thing. I'd made a video about a week and a half ago, right, where I had to do this because of the nature of how I was sitting. And when it got time to actually making the thumbnail, I was scrolling through the video trying to find a spot where I didn't do this exact thing because it was just really irritating me. It just sort of made me think, God, that's just... If I saw another YouTuber with that in the thumbnail, I wouldn't click the video, it would just annoy me. And it's a little judgmental part of the back of your brain that kind of, maybe puts other people down. Maybe it's a defense mechanism or something like that. And I reckon I'm not alone in that, and everyone will have different things that trigger that little weird, unreasonable judgmentality. Like this is not a reason to not click a video. The way that someone's sitting like this. So when I first came here and I tried to set up, I tried to sort of sit like this. I don't think this really works any better. I mean, you could sort of maybe do a little bit something like that. But all of these things are just the natural way that this has ended up coming about. This is the natural way that you would have to sit if you wanted to sit here. There's no way around it. And at the end of the day, it's all right to sort of just be yourself, and that's what so many people on the internet are actually doing. They're just being themselves. I mean, what's the whole thing of YouTube, like the whole saying, broadcast yourself? That's what people are doing. And, you know, at the end of the day, what people are trying to do is just trying to express themselves. And, you know, what happens when you express yourself is you're naturally going to sort of worry about other people's interpretation of what you're doing and that kind of thing. And you know what? People are fine. People are way less judgmental than you actually think, or maybe they just do a really good job of hiding their you know, little judgments because they themselves know that their little judgments that are like their version of me with the knees touching like that are quite unreasonable, and you can kind of try and block it out and go, look, I don't know why that's bothering me, but it is. But I'm just going to move past it and just engage with the things that that person is actually saying. Because once you actually get into the meat and two potatoes of what someone's saying, then it becomes a lot easier to actually sort of get on board for what they're doing. Like, have you ever sort of, I don't know, say a band that you kind of know that get on your nerves a little bit, but, you know, once you actually do sit down and listen to them, no, actually they were quite good. You know, for me, a band that does that kind of thing would be Spongel. I don't know, whenever I see their live videos, there's something about their aura that just frustrates me and irritates me a little bit. It activates the judgmental part of my brain, right? And so whenever I don't listen to them for quite a while, I build up this little idea in my head of like a stereotype of what their music sounds like. And then I actually go and listen to it after a while. And then I listen to it and it's actually not really like that stereotype that I built up in my head. Or if it is, then it's not a problem. It's just fine, it's okay. It's okay to be like that. You know, it's the same thing with sort of various celebrities that you might see that they might irritate you, but then, you know, maybe, you know, have you got a stand-up comedian that you really you think you don't like, but then you actually go and sit down and actually watch one of their specials or something like that, and then turns out, actually, no, you laughed more than you thought you were going to. You maybe sat down, you were going to hate watch something. For instance, about a year ago, I sat down and I started watching The Batman, the Robert Pattinson one. And I was kind of expecting to not like it. I was expecting to really just think it was a miserable load of old crap, to be honest. And for the first 15 minutes, I was purely hate watching it. And after about 15 minutes, I started to really get on board with it. And then as I started to get on board with it, I started to really enjoy it. And I ended up watching the entire thing, all 3 hours of it. And I started watching it about 1 a.m, thinking I was going to watch it for maybe 15 minutes to kind of take the piss out of it and then get on with my day. Because, you know, those superhero things, they have a little judgmental little thing for me. You know, I just think, oh, running around in your spandex, doing a bit of that. Shh. Oh yeah, what, you going to kill Dr. Octopus again? Shh. It's not just Spider-Man, it's all the superheroes. They all have that same sort of thing for me where it's just like, oh my God. Take your spandex off and just punch the bloody bastard, you know? And, you know, when you actually do sit down and watch a good one, subvert those expectations and they do interesting things with it. And so everything that you see that you kind of dislike and you've built up an image of that you dislike, you end up returning to it, and it turns out to be a lot better than you thought it was going to be. Like for me recently, that was Family Guy. I for the past, I don't know how long, I just hated Family Guy, and I thought it was the worst thing ever. I hated the cutaways, I hated the general aura of the show. But then for some reason, I just started watching it again, and I started to like it, and I started to really get back into it. And I found out that I actually do like the show. And that little judgmental side of me just sort of dissipated over time. And I think it's important to recognize that you have an inner judgment that can sometimes be quite negative. And it's important to recognize that so that you can overcome it and at least look at things with an objectivity. Because it can be quite difficult, especially when you're just growing up and maybe you're still a teenager and you're just figuring out like the world of adults and so on. It can be hard to sort of figure out the difference between useful cynicism and just generally being a bit of a miserable bastard. Because yeah, it can be useful to be cynical about certain things because, you know, the world's got a bit of a, you know, its fair share of problems and so on and so forth that maybe we need to be sorting out. But, you know, you've got that in an internal negative sort of thing. And it's about just trying to make it as how do I put it? It's about making it, shrinking it down, that inner judgmental sort of part of your brain, making it sort of not disappear, because you'll never make it disappear because it's an internal sort of part of you, but just making sure that it doesn't get yourself down, and when you're out with other people that you're not like bringing down the mood and that kind of thing. And obviously if you're going through a hard time, it can be quite hard to not do that because everything that's on your mind is a little bit grim. I'm thinking of the Saxondale episode now where Saxondale ends up stopping a bloke from killing himself, and he sort of says, look, anytime you want to call, come over, whatever, I'll be here for you. And you know, the guy keeps coming over and he keeps bringing down the mood, and eventually everyone starts to get a bit sick of him. And then his life sort of turns around and he becomes really happy. And yeah, I feel like with this sitting like this sort of thing, right, it is annoying. I don't like the fact that I'm sitting like this because I'm doing something that if I saw it in another video, it would frustrate me and it would make me want to not watch the video, and it would just make me think, oh, fuck's sake, bloody, I don't know. There's no rational thing to it. It just makes me a little bit irritated. And I can't quite pin that down, but I think it's important to at least recognize it and recognize the fact that maybe you can't pin it down, because maybe you don't necessarily need to pin it down. You just need to know that it's there. You need to know that it is an active part of you so that you can turn it off and turn it on as and when you need it. So yeah, just a little video just to sort of say, you know, you've got probably some negative things that are going on, and you know, you might have negative opinions towards stuff, and you might have negative outlooks on the world, and it's not about shutting them off. It's just about recognizing that, and about recognizing that you can be a negative person, but not worrying so much, and allowing the fact that you're not worrying to bring out the positivity within things. Because you know that whole thing of like, you probably got taught it in school, like, oh, it takes 20 muscles to smile, but it takes 40 to frown. So why don't you just smile? Because it takes less muscles. It's kind of like that a little bit, really. Just try and turn off the negative part of your brain as much as you can, because it'll always be there. It's never going to go away, but you can always just try and shut it off as much as you can. So thank you very much for watching this video. Hope you have a great rest of the day. And yeah, next time you see something that just sort of irritates you, maybe just try checking it out anyway. Go along to that sort of comedy club sort of thing that has some comedians that you think, oh God, it's gonna be like a little bit like, oh, bloody like that. And then you might go and it might turn out to be a really nice night. So yeah, just get out there, try new things, enjoy new positive experiences, and yeah, don't let the negative part of your brain rule your life, because you know, you've got a great life going on, and if you don't now, you will at some point, and everything will work itself out pretty much. So yeah, take care everybody, bye bye. I've got to figure out how to get out of this, because I'm kind of stuck here now. Ugh. Kind of want to finish the video by climbing the tree, so let's do that. Ow! Action scene. Hey up everybody, my name's Joshua Morrison, director of Johnny Moz's Lessons in Confidence, and today I thought I would talk a little bit around film versus music versus books and what kind of method you want to use to create your art and to express yourself. So, you know, there's many different forms of entertainment out there. You know, you've got books, you've got television, you've got film, you've got music, you've got theatre. You could just write the plays and not even expect them to be performed. You could carve out little drawings on the side of caves. There's all kinds of things that you can do to express yourself in various ways that can be preserved for either a short amount of time, like for other people to see in the case of theatre, or for forever in the case of a recorded piece of media, like a recorded song or even a recorded performance of a theatre production. So I specialise in film. I started off in film, but I slowly gravitated towards doing music. And there was a few reasons for that. One was that film is a very collaborative kind of thing, and I'm not a particularly big people person. I'm not someone who goes out and talks to a lot of people. I can be quite insular if I want to be. And that's part of what Johnny Moz's Lessons in Confidence is about addressing, is that it's lessons in confidence for myself. Hence why I kind of do these videos as well, because it encourages me to be more confident and to be more forthright with my worldview and the way that I see things. And I started doing music instead because it was something I could do entirely on my own, entirely from the comfort of my own home, and something that you could do quickly. Like with a film, if you want to really put together a proper film, you know, with proper actors and a proper script and get everything prepared beforehand, and you have all this extra paperwork and stuff that you got to do. It's all things that really bog you down and start to drag you away from the art. And then you're on the set directing, and it feels like you're starting to get away from the art. And editing video to me can sometimes, after a while, just become a technical, mechanical process, more like engineering than like a form of creativity. And I wanted to move away from that kind of thing. And that's why, for one, I've started doing Johnny Moz's Lessons in Confidence in a much different way from all my previous films. But second off, I thought it would be really interesting to combine both my love of music and my love of film with this project. But as to why I started doing music, I could do it from the comfort of my own home, and I could do it quickly. So I could come up with the idea for a song. I could think, I want a song that goes dun 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 wow, you know, and then I could figure out how to play that on the guitar, figure out a way to make that sound interesting on a bass, decide if I want some keyboards on it, and then bam, I've recorded it, and it's taken not much longer than the song actually is. Like if I want to make a 5-minute song, it'll probably take me about minimum an hour, maximum maybe 3 hours. I like my longer songs. A lot of my songs are 7+ minutes. Some of them gravitate closer to the 20-minute mark. And that's because that's sort of who I am. All my favorite songs are long. My ultimate favorite song, that I think will be my ultimate favorite song for the rest of my life, possibly, I'm not sure yet, is Echoes by Pink Floyd. And another ones I like are Anesthetize by Porcupine Tree, In the Name of God by Dream Theater, Homesick Parts 1 through 3 by Airbag, Again by Archive. These are all very long songs. Dogs, all their animals really. These are all very long suites of music, and they take you on a journey in a very interesting way, and a new way for each of them. All of those songs are quite distinct from each other, even though they all kind of fall under the same umbrella of progressive rock in some form or another. But they all manage to do such different things with their combinations of guitars and keyboards and drums and bass. And I like to do my own experiments in that same field. I did a song, for instance, a few months ago called Kalashnikov, which is this 17-minute combination of krautrock, my love of krautrock, and then my love of progressive rock. So I kind of combined those two fields, and I'm doing stuff that I know is not, commercial. I'm not doing any of this stuff for views, and I know that no one's going to listen to a 16-minute song from a nobody, but I enjoy that kind of music. So I'm making the music that feels right to me, and I'm not trying to chase anything else other than that. And I don't want to commercialize my music and turn my music into a career, because to me, the music is such a fun hobby of mine. And I don't want it to be anything more than that. I actively would rather it be a hobby than I think my dream job is to be someone who records live gigs. Like you go to a live gig, say you go to see the Oasis reunion next year, and you know how they'll have the little screens. If you're so far away, you can't actually see them, so they'll put them up on these giant screens. I'd like to be one of the people recording the videos for those screens. That looks like a lot of fun to me. Just to get paid to go and do what I love, which is filming. I love filming. Like, this is why I've set the camera up like this. I've got the camera so far away from me. And this took so many goes of me going up and down the stairs, up and down the stairs. It took me about 20 minutes to set this shot up, sort of shifting. Should I do it a bit over here? Should I do it a bit over here? Is it in focus? Is the top of my head in? I'm really, I can't bend up too much like that. You see how it kind of cuts the top of my head off, so I'm kind of leaning a little bit like that. I'm doing this quite a long lens, so it's given kind of a fun feel. I like doing that, and it's a passion of mine, and it's a passion that I wouldn't mind commercializing. But for me, music is something that's very dear to me, and something that's very truly part of my soul. I never was super into music as a kid. I was raised on Metallica's self-titled Master Puppets, and I think that's about it. And then I liked video game soundtracks, and then as I became a teenager, I liked a little bit of Eminem, not much. Got into Nightcore. Remember when Nightcore was a thing? It's basically just like the slowed and reverbed thing. It's basically the opposite of that. So I kind of enjoyed that kind of music. I wasn't, an aficionado of music or anything. I think I started really getting into music when I went out with my first girlfriend, and she was very into her music. She showed me a lot of different styles of music, none of which have really stuck with me, because we had quite different tastes in music. She was very into post-punk, and I'm not super into post-punk. But it helped me to find a love of bands and a love of live music in particular, and live music is something that's really stuck with me. And it's really kind of embarrassing to actually admit this, but the reason I started learning to play the guitar was because her ex-boyfriend played the guitar, and I was like, oh God, that means he's better than me. I'm going to learn the guitar and I'll be better than him. So I started learning the guitar, and for the first 4 years I was god-awful, but I just kept going away at it. And after a couple of months, I wasn't even doing it to try and be better than that ex-boyfriend. I was just doing it because I really enjoyed it. And now I look at myself playing the guitar and I think God, imagine if I couldn't play this thing, how much more empty my life would be. And I really do think that if you're in the creative field, if you're someone who is truly creative through and through, and you've spent all your life making stuff and you want to make stuff until you die, pick up an instrument, because it really does add something to you, not necessarily to your personality or anything. It doesn't make you a more interesting person just because you can play a fucking guitar or a keyboard or whatever. But it will help you express yourself in new ways. And, even if you just sit around and you just noodle on the guitar, you can make some really fun stuff and you can just enjoy it, and it can be something that's for you. And I really think that you should pursue music, not necessarily as a full-time thing, but if you're into film, you should also give music a try, because there's a fair few transferable skills from film to music and from music to film. Like microphone placement, for instance, is something that's quite important with recording music. Arrangement and composition is fairly similar to editing, and you can, if you wanted to make, for instance, kind of electronic kind of sample-based music, you would basically just be editing with audio and doing the kind of sound design that you might already do when you edit your videos and your films at the moment. As well, it also encourages you to find new types of music, because you'll always be looking for a new inspiration and a new thing that gives you kind of a true sensation that goes through your body and makes the hairs on your arm sort of go up like that. I've started listening to so much more music since I started composing music. And what's also really fun is being able to listen to your own music back when you've recorded it and you've listened to it back, and you can just sit back with the headphones on. You can just go, oh wow, and in the back of your mind, you're just like, fucking hell, I made that. I made that bit of music. If it weren't for me, if I weren't born, this wouldn't exist. And that's something that's really fun as well. Yeah, I would really recommend you try music. Just pick up a guitar, or if you don't have a guitar laying around, just you can buy them pretty cheap. You can get them at Cash Converters or CEX. I don't think you can get them at CEX. Get them at whatever your shop is, because you probably don't live in the UK. Is Target like Cash Converters? I'm not sure. No, I think Target is more like Argos, isn't it? Walmart will probably have something. You've got thrift stores instead of charity shops. So go to your local thrift store and try and find a guitar for like 10, 20 bucks, something like that. And you'll find something fun. Or it doesn't have to be guitar. You might not feel drawn to the guitar. You might feel drawn to, the bass. Or even if you can't get an instrument, say you've got no money whatsoever. Say you've just got your phone. You can get GarageBand, or there's probably an Android equivalent of GarageBand, and you can just compose stuff with MIDI and just have fun coming out with little tunes, like maybe you're not into live sound sort of stuff like I am. Maybe you're more into your chip tune sort of stuff. I know a lot of people are really into that kind of sound, like the NES kind of, or SNES, or like Sega sort of Mega Drive kind of sound. People like that kind of thing. I think it's all right. It's cool. It's a fun way of composing. I've not really done much of it, but it's certainly an accessible way of doing it. You don't need an instrument or anything. You could just do it with GarageBand or whatever the equivalent is. If you've got a laptop, you can get there's a mosquito. You can get a Reaper for free. It just makes you wait for 5 seconds. So just do that. It's kind of like WinRAR. You know how like it's meant to be a free trial, but you kind of just keep it. It's like that. And then you can get all sorts of free VSTs, and they're just things you download. There'll be there's a long rabbit hole that you can go down. I'll try and spare you the rabbit hole. Download Reaper, then figure out the piano roll, and get a couple instruments. Get maybe like an organ or piano or a bass guitar. I'm trying to remember what the name of this mosquito's annoying me. I'm trying to remember what the name of this thing is. IK Multimedia is the name of the place that makes it, and they've got one called Modo Drums. That's the one I first used. That's free in a sort of castrated version, and you can use like a couple of the presets, and then they've got this long list of grooves that you can kind of just drag in, and then you can go into the drum roll, the piano roll, and you can tweak the way it works. I'll tell you what, I'm going to recommend you a channel to go watch. Watch a channel called Stevie McLaughlin. He's a guy I think he's from Northern Ireland, and he works on he makes a lot of progressive metal kind of stuff. He's very into that kind of sound. So it's quite aligned with what I like. And he just goes through Reaper, and he'll show you the exact process of his process, beginning to end. He's got one video about the drums in particular, and he goes so much more in depth into the drums than I do. He separates everything out into separate tracks and then starts mixing each track. I don't do any of that. I kind of just slap stuff together, and that's something that apparently is a problem with the way that I do stuff, is I kind of slapdash things, and then I'm so quick to move on to the next thing and get one thing done that I don't give things the time and care that they deserve. So, but that's because I'm mainly doing demos for my album at the moment. But anyway, listen to some Stevie McLaughlin. It's a great channel to just sort of fall asleep to, or to just have on while you're in bed and like winding down. Very, very friendly person, very nice to follow. He's very easy to follow as well, and he gives you a real look into the creation of the full song. He does song by song, so he did like a 5-part series where it was like making an 80s style hard rock song, and it's all the little details, like him coming up with the ideas, thinking, oh, this could work, and then doing things that way. So he builds his songs out like that. I tend to jam my songs out and let the jam come together, and I record the whole song in one take. Either approach works, or you can go the complete other way and you can start sampling stuff, and you can do things that way if you want. It's a real playground for experimentation, especially if you're coming at this from a different background other than music. Or, maybe say you were classically trained in violin as a kid or whatever, and you didn't really like doing that at the time, but, you kind of remember little bits here and there and you're like, yeah, I wouldn't mind getting back into it. Not as a serious thing, but I'll give it a go. You could get back into it and you might come at it from a different angle, And I think it's interesting to see what people do when they leave their comfort zone. And at some point, music wasn't my comfort zone, and I experimented and I put my foot forward into it, and I created stuff that was very, very harsh and brittle. And looking back, my oldest stuff is better than the stuff I made after I started to learn a little bit, because I started to create more songs with grooves and stuff compared to what I was doing before, which was kind of these ambient soundscapes, which were quite good actually. If I look back at them, they're actually quite good. I didn't know what keys were. I didn't know what chords really were. I could barely play an A minor. I barely knew how to do music in general. I was basically just compiling sounds and just having fun with it. And as I did that more and more, I started to learn more and more. And that's what I think you should do. Just go out there and try stuff. And, if you're a musician, do the opposite. Go try making some films, because it'll be useful for you, for your music videos and stuff. And if you're in film, it'll be useful to learn music so you can make scores. That's originally why I got into music, was so that I could create scores for my films. Do stuff that puts you out of your comfort zone, and you'll find a new comfort zone for yourself. And, have fun with it, because that's what it's all about. So I think I'm going to finish the video here, and I'm going to wrap up by just saying I've got a album that I'm working on at the moment called Decisions in Another Language, which is all about something that happened last year, which I'll maybe get into at some point. But the album is all about that from a more, melancholic, artsy-fartsy sort of perspective. And I've got 7 songs and about 45 minutes of music. So as I said, I kind of like my prog rock, kind of krautrock stuff. So there's a lot of 7, 8, 9-minute songs in there. I would love to work with some musicians, maybe like over email or something. So if you are a musician, what I'll do is I'll upload the album to this channel in its current state, and you can have a look at it. And if you're interested in being on it, just let me know. Send an email to this email. I'm probably not going to put text. I'll probably forget, but it'll be in. I'll try and put it in the description or something like that. Yeah, I'd love to have people on it. I'd love to form a community around music as well, and make this a bit of a channel about music and film, because at the moment I've gone very deep into the film, which is one half of my my creativity, and music is my other half. Obviously, I like to write stories as well, so maybe I'll do something with that sometime. I used to be really big into writing books and stuff. I always used, when I was a kid and I was in school, I would always, during lunch hour, I would go to the library, and I would just sit in the library every single day, just typing like that all the time. And I'd be making up these stupid stories. There was one I had, there was this guy called Terry Terrible. He was basically Horrid Henry, but like Family Guy to Simpsons, Terry Terrible was Family Guy compared to Horrid Henry as The Simpsons. So it was basically just an edgy Horrid Henry, written by a 10-year-old. I managed to do 100 pages where there was this like Icelandic mafia who were kidnapping children to put them into this private school, which was kind of like a prison where they warped people's minds to do something. I can't remember what. It was fun, and that's what creativity is meant to be. It's an expression of the human mind, and it's fun. It's a hobby, and it's entertainment at the same time. It's not just entertaining to watch creativity be displayed to you. It's also fun to create, and I love doing that, and I'm going to do it hopefully until the day I die. So that's going to be good. Yep. All right. Goodbye. Nah, yeah. Video's not over yet. Not over yet, but maybe I should have moved it back here. Watch. Imagine I did that whole video and it should have been here instead, or it should have been like over here, or maybe over here, maybe over here, maybe over here. maybe over here. Or maybe it shouldn't have had me in it at all. It should have just been like that. Right. That was No. Nah, there's more to it than that. Hey up everybody, my name's Joshua Morrison, director of Johnny Moz's Lessons in Confidence, and today I wanted to talk to you a little bit around a two-letter word, N-O, no. How do you say it? How do you say it to people? Because oftentimes we can be, particularly people pleasers, like myself, we often try to make people feel as comfortable as possible by just saying yes and putting their comfort before our own. And there's got to be a nice balance somewhere where everyone can be happy and no one has to suffer for the sake of other people's enjoyment. Now, when you are sort of saying yes or no to something, if someone sort of asks you, do you want to come out, but you don't want to go out, and you say no, that's something that if you keep doing that, then eventually they will stop asking you if you want to hang out. And so that might make you feel pressured to say yes to a particular event, because if you say no to this, then what if they don't ask you in the future, right? So there you want to ask yourselves, do you want to actually be going to these things? Do you enjoy this sort of thing and want to go to it more often? Will you mind if they stop asking you no? Outside of just the external validation, will you actually miss these events, right? And thirdly, do you feel like you're the one that's putting in all the work in terms of this kind of thing? So if you've answered yes to any of those questions, I feel like you should maybe take a look at if you really want to be continuing with whatever this arrangement is where you're being asked to go somewhere and you say yes or no. Are you actually enjoying it? Do you want to keep doing it? Are you going to miss it? And if you can answer yes to all of them, then maybe just do say yes. But you also need to take time for yourself. We all need those days where we can just like relax and just do a bit of that. This is me pretending to be on the phone. So you want to do a bit of that sometimes, but you don't want to do that all the time, because that's when you're probably in some kind of depression hole, because you're avoiding going out and interacting with the outside world. And if you keep doing that, then people will eventually stop wanting to hang out with you, because you're just saying no to everything, and when you do eventually turn up, you're kind of a downer. How can you avoid that? Well, I think by learning to say no to various things that might put you in an uncomfortable situation, and not just going along with the flow that someone else has set up and getting in a canoe and going down their fucking waterfall, then you can really make yourself feel more confident within your own being and be able to say no more in the future. And as you get more confidence, you will become more social, more socially aware, and more able to light up a room with, something that's interesting or funny or that, essentially. So if you want to say yes to something, then do. But if you don't want to say yes to something, then don't. You don't have to. There's no, well, there might be pressures in your exact circumstances. I can't judge for your exact circumstances. But if you find yourself consistently saying yes to stuff that makes you feel uncomfortable because you feel this external pressure to say yes, and you feel like you have no real control over this and your life, then it's a good time to reevaluate the current, relations that you got with your friends and your family and so on and so forth. Do you need to start cutting people out of your life who are sort of taking the mick with you, that are asking you to do things that you feel completely uncomfortable in doing? Say, I don't know, here's a political example, right? Say a friend of yours asks you if you want to go to like a far-right rally, or if you're on that side, say someone asks you, do you want to go to a Palestine rally, right? Say you're on the side that doesn't like those things, and you're asked, do you want to go along? You don't want to go along, right? You don't want to support that kind of cause, but you feel this internal anxiety about their thoughts on you. Say, if you say no to this, are they going to think I'm some kind of bloody pansy that hates this cause or hates this or whatever, So you end up going because you want to please them. You want to make them think that you're on board with everything. So now you've sold out your own beliefs and your philosophy for the sake of external validation that you might not even receive, because they're probably not going to turn around to you and go, oh wow, you're such an awesome guy to come into this thing I asked you to come to. They're probably just going to say, oh, yeah. What's probably going to happen, you'll do the march, you'll probably go to the pub afterwards, you'll have a few drinks, you won't even talk about the politics at that point, you're long gone. This isn't a political point at all, this is just a point about protest in general. You'll go to the protest and you'll go away somewhere, you'll have a drink, you'll have a bit of a chat about stuff, topics will change, you'll get on something new, and then you'll just kind of get on with your day. You'll go home again, you'll fall asleep, and you'll sort of look at the ceiling and think, God, I'm going to be in some kind of YouTube video or like news piece where I'm being represented as a supporter of this cause that I don't believe in. And it's because I said yes to something that I didn't want to say yes to, because I didn't want to let that person down, because I want them to see me as someone that is willing to go along with the flow. And you don't always have to go along with the flow. When in the past I've said just go along with the flow, I mean it as make your own flow and go along with that. Don't just take other people's flow and go along with what they want, because they don't have your best interests at heart. Only you have your best interests at heart, and only you can decide what's best for yourself. No one else can decide that for you. I can't decide that for you, your parents can't decide that for you, your girlfriend or your boyfriend can't decide that for you, your friends can't decide that for you. No one can decide that for you other than yourself. And the way that you actually go through and you make yourself confident enough to, build up your own personality over time is by saying no to various things and being the person that sometimes has to let others down, because you have prioritized something that's important to you over something that's important to them. And that is the key to it. You need to prioritize yourself, whilst at the same time, it's important to know that, when I say prioritize yourself, don't just become a selfish arsehole, because you don't need to become a selfish arsehole to have your own priorities at heart. You can still take other people's, interests into account, For instance, if say you're hanging out with a friend and they say, oh, can you take me to the bus stop? And you say, no, because I want to just go to sleep. That was something very, very minor that they asked you to do, and you've said no for not much gain whatsoever. So in terms of the social points that you might earn out of that compared to the relaxation points that you might, I don't know where these points have come from, this point systems come from, but it's an imbalance in terms of it. You're not getting very many relaxation points, but they're losing a fair bit of oh damn. It's particularly if it's like a woman that's asking you to take me to the bus stop because it's late at night, and I think you'd be a bit of a scumbag if you just let them go to the bus stop on their own. If it's a bloke, it's a bit more, 50-50. Is it a case that I'm gonna have to keep taking this person whenever they come over to the bus stop, and there's gonna be that expectation that I take them to the bus stop? And do I wanna make that a thing that's continual? Because I don't wanna have to suddenly have this conversation like, hey man, I don't really wanna take you to the bus stop anymore. Or you might try and worm your way out of it. You don't really wanna do that. So there are certain points where you gotta say no to something with that priority in mind. But because life is so complex and convoluted, it's up to you to try and make the right decisions. And you won't always make the right decisions, but they were your decisions, and you've got to stand by them through thick and thin. Even if they're the wrong decision, it was still your decision, and you've got to own that and be proud of the fact that you made that decision, even if it was wrong. Even if it was something that you regret doing or regret not doing, that was your decision, that was your choice that you made in that moment, and you just have to live with it. And you can either live with it in suffering and agony through regret, or you can use it as a learning tool and motivation for the future to make right decisions in the future, and as a learning experience. It's up to you. Do you want to take the negatives out of life, or do you want to take the positives? And that's essentially the entirety of it. To say no to people is to try and figure out the social equation of life. And there's no right answer, there's no wrong answer, there's only yes and there's no, and there's maybe as well. And it's up to you to decide on those things, and it's up to you to make those decisions. And as you go forward in life and make more and more decisions, you will eventually get somewhere good in life if you're making the right decisions. And if you're making the wrong decisions, then it's a good time to reevaluate, see what you're doing wrong, and then continue from there. But yeah, just learn to say no to people. I know it's difficult, and I know it can make you sort of feel awkward to make other people feel bad in that very split second, but they'll get over it. They won't remember this thing that put them out, but you will remember that confidence that you gained from standing up for yourself. And that's, I think, going to be it for this video. Thank you so much for watching this. Hope you all have a great rest of the day.
yeah, if someone asks you out, say yes or say no, do what you want to do. Don't think about their wants, think about your wants, and then try and have what you want be something that benefits others as well, because that's the nature of a selfless person rather than a selfish one. Yeah, that's going to be all from me. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great rest of the day, and take care. Yeah, so yes. Hey up everybody, my name's Joshua Morrison, director of Johnny Moz's Lessons in Confidence, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about community, because community, especially in the 21st century, has now splintered into so many different facets of life. There are so many forms of community, both in real life and online, and it's so interesting to be able to get a nice variety of community. I presume if you're anything like me, you've probably got a few different sets of friends, and you get slightly different things out of them. So you have some friends where you talk to about like maybe music, and you have some friends where you have a connection over politics, you have some friends where you have a connection over just like talking absolute dog beep. It's too early in the video to swear. So you just have different people that you do different things with. And that's part of the beauty of the human experience and the human connection, is being able to talk to different people about different things and forming various communities around various different things. So what I've noticed in life generally is you'll meet one person, and then that one person will introduce you to a few people, and then those people you get kind of close with, and then those people then introduce you to more people, and then so on and so forth and so forth. And that's the kind of way that you kind of imagine it, sort of like one of those spider web sort of charts. If you're ever in some sort of like business training sort of day sort of thing, and they come up with like the spider chart, and they're like, all right everybody, let's name some things, and they name the first thing and it's in the middle, and then they have little offshoots going in all the little different directions, and those are your different friends, and those friends then lead to further offshoots and so on and so forth. And that's part of the fun of it, because you meet one person, they introduce you to a few people, and then they introduce you to a few people, and so on and so forth. You end up finding yourself in completely different communities just from the ability to talk to various people. And if I could do anything to encourage you, it's just to talk to as many different people as you can. Get insights into different ways of life and different types of people. There's some people that I talk to about like much more sort of nerdy, like analytical sort of stuff, and there's some people where I don't do that and I do other things. And there's, that's part of the ebb and flow of sort of talking to various people. It's very important to have different people to suit your different needs, because that's kind of what happens throughout the workings of the social sort of connection and that kind of thing. So with regards to this sort of Johnny Mozza YouTube channel thing, right, I've noticed a bit of a community starting to form. I think a couple of people have actually been working on making a Discord for it, which I'm very excited for. I'm very excited to be part of a Discord little community, and maybe we can use it as a chance for various creators to kind of come together, spitball some ideas with one another. Maybe people go like, what do you think of a video about, I don't know, personal growth? Or what do you think about a video about this show that I've been watching a lot lately, or whatever, and people spitball ideas back and forth, or maybe just have a bit of fun with one another, just talk some bollocks, apologies, So that kind of thing is fun, and that's a new community that is being formed as we speak, and that community can then lead you to another community, because say you join the Discord, this is just dreaming at this point, but say you join the Discord, we have a bit of a conversation, and then you find one person that you really hit it off with, and you start talking to them a lot, and then you kind of start talking to more people through that person, and so on and so forth, because that is exactly what happens. It's just this constant offshoot of various communities. That is, I know I've said that about 5 times now in the video, but that is just the single most important point that I can really stress for this video, is that the more people you talk to, the more people you will find because of the people that you talk to. And the more people that you talk to, the more communities you will find yourself a part of. Even if you talk to someone and you find you don't really have anything in common with them, you don't have to meet them again. You can go past if you want. And everything that kind of ends up happening with that first person, if you don't find the connection with them, you kind of go your own separate ways, and then you find another person, this one you kind of hit off a little bit better. And then, oh no, that turns out that one didn't really work out. Turns out like maybe you only had like a couple sort of days where you really enjoyed sort of each other's company, and then you kind of realise, they're kind of a pain in the ass. And then that's all part of the human connection, because you will eventually find someone that you just really hit it off with, and they become like one of your best friends, and then that ends up sending you down this little rabbit hole of their little friends, and they end up getting sent down your little rabbit hole of friends. Or different things will happen. You'll end up in different positions with different groups of people. Some people will be a bit more like this, some people will be a bit more like that. And it's essentially rounding out your own personality, because you are essentially just an amalgamation of everyone that you hang out with. At the end of the day, I mean, we're all obviously individual, and we all obviously have influence over the other people in the same sort of way, but other people in turn have influence over us and our personalities and our brains and stuff like that. And you'll end up sort of being a different way around different people, and that's kind of the fun of it, because it's all variations of the real you, and that's part of the magic of being a human being. Pretty much, it's just fun to go and talk to people and see what's going on. Even if you're an introvert like me, like I get a little bit drained from like constant communication with people, and it's still kind of fun though, because you have fun retrospectively, because you look back on those experiences and you're like, oh, fucking hell, that was a really fun time. I mean, I bet the best day of your life involved someone else, at least one other person, maybe multiple other people. I bet the best day of your life wasn't had solo. Like, it wasn't the sort of day where you sat in bed and watched Peep Show all day. Those are certainly fun days, and you need those sort of days to recalibrate your own brain and to get back into the groove of things. But it's not the ultimate peak of life. The ultimate peak of life inherently involves other people, because we are a social species. We're not like, you might see snails or slugs or certain things like that. We're not like that. We're more like ants, in that we have this sort of colony that kind of comes together and connects over certain things. And that's just fun. It's just fun to talk to people and find things. And like for this film, Johnny Moz's Lessons in Confidence, been finding so many new great people to talk to who are becoming some of my best friends. And that's just amazing, because what happens is, if you embrace yourself, other people will like you for you, rather than if you try and put out some kind of image of yourself of what you think people want to see. That's not really what they want to see. They don't care about that. They're not interested in like the projection of you. They're interested in the real you. Even if you feel like maybe they're not, that's just not true. They are interested in the real you. And when you start projecting the real you and trying to push back some of the anxieties and the catastrophizing sort of behaviors that might happen in your head the way that they might happen in mine, you start to notice that other people will start coming along for your ride, and you'll also open yourself up to coming along with their ride. And that's just part of the fun of it. That's part of the fun of being human. And I think with regards to community, you can make your own. You can just make your own community. Like, maybe you don't, not through this method of just starting a YouTube channel and just accidentally falling into something that does quite well and finding loads of people that have a connection with it, but maybe you join your local open mic scene, maybe you join, like, I don't know, your local D&D thing at your library, maybe you go to local events and stuff like that, maybe you just start hanging out with the people at your workplace and just start having more fun conversations with them. Maybe you get invited to a house party or something and you're like, well, I don't really know them that well. It's like, would it be a bit awkward if I go? Just go. If it's awkward, who the fuck cares? It'll be forgotten about in a month. Anyway, so it doesn't matter. None of these things that worry you in the head actually really matter at the end of the day, because people care about the real version of you. That's what they want to see, because that's a good positive trait. Someone who is comfortable in their own skin, and someone who is truly, it feels like they are themselves and they're not putting on an image for you. Because that way, it makes it feel like you can trust that person a lot more easily, because they are just showing you their vulnerable side, I suppose. That's kind of the thing. Thank you. Someone just walked behind the camera. So yeah, it's instead of walking right in front of it, which I like when they do that. Thank you very much. You have a good day. And yeah, I feel like with regards to making your own community, it's entirely possible, even if you're an introvert. Like, I know you probably don't believe it, because I do 2 videos a day where I just yak, but I am actually an introvert. I'm not someone who feeds off of social communications. And I actually kind of believe that the extrovert-introvert thing is a bit of bollocks anyway. It's not really real. Everyone's kind of somewhere in the middle, you know? And you know, we all have the bad sides to us. We all have some bad days. We all have good days. We all have days where it feels like the world's coming to an end, and we have days where it feels like the world is just fucking beginning. And that's cool. That's fun. Life is pretty fun when you allow it to be. And I know, like, you know, there's so many sort of mental health sort of issues that go around now, and they always were there, but now we actually have this openness to actually talk about them. And it is certainly a hurdle to overcome. And, you know, I've been in times where it feels like I don't want to leave the house, I don't want to talk to new people, I just want to stay inside and just rot. But if you do that, you're going to end up less happy as a result, and it's this self-feeding kind of thing where, because you're not getting out there and talking to new people, you get a little bit sadder and a bit more isolated, and because you're a bit sadder and a bit more isolated, less people end up hanging out with you, and so you become more self-isolated and more unhappy, and that just feeds into itself again and again and again. That causes the spiral. So to avoid that, just say yes to stuff. Just go out there, just try things, just do whatever comes to mind, take risks, go nuts, because even if you make some stupid mistakes, you're not actually going to regret them. They'll become a bit of an embarrassing story, but you'll be glad at the end of the day that it kind of happened, because that ended up making you the person that you become down the line. Like, I've made some stupid mistakes in my life, but I don't regret any of them, you know? I mean, if I could go back, if I could go back and just sort of say to my previous self, hey, don't do that, you're going to be a bit of a knobhead doing that, my previous self would probably end up doing it anyway. And it would be fine, because you need the mistakes in order to get to the good things, because we're all just this walking just stack of broken CDs at the end of the day. We all have flaws, we all have bits where we skip a track, we all have like those ones where it's like a pirate CD with just like, it's been put in felt tip on the CD. You know, none of us are perfect. None of us are perfect. And anyone who pretends that they are is lying. And that shows that they are imperfect. So, a bit paradoxical, that. So, yeah, even your heroes are imperfect. Everyone's imperfect. And that's fine. That's good. It's nice that we're all imperfect, because it makes it all a little bit less big, and it makes us feel like we're real human beings in this real world with other people that are just like us. So yeah, I think that's going to be the video. Thank you so much for watching this one. Hope you have a good rest of the day. Hope everything's going well for you. I hope if you're getting invited, it's a Saturday night, so if you're getting invited to a house party and you're feeling like, oh, I want to stay in, I'm tired or whatever, well, make your mind up. If they're people that you like, go hang out with them. If you don't, then don't. You know, it's your own person at the end of the day. But I would recommend going along, seeing what it's like, even if you think, oh, I'm just going to leave at like maybe 11. Maybe you won't. Maybe you'll end up staying there till 2 in the morning and you'll have a hell of a time. Who knows? Anyway, take care, everybody. Bye-bye. Oh.
Hey up everybody, my name is Joshua Morrison, director of Johnny Morrison Lessons in Confidence, and today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about outside validation and how it can be an absolute curse upon your productivity and your mental well-being. So we all end up slightly comparing ourselves to other people. We always end up, you know, on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, and you see, you know, your friends and your family and stuff, and like they're out having a blast and they're posting it all, and you're sort of thinking to yourself, you know, I'm just sat here, just not really getting up to much, just kind of just going along, doing what I do. It feels kind of like, what's the point? But you know, you can get really lost in that comparison to other people, and it can really get you down. It can really make everything feel very overwhelming, because it looks like everyone else is so successful and you are a failure. But really, everyone else is just the same as you. Everyone else has their own worries and insecurities, and I think it's important to remember that, because for this video we're going to be talking about external validation and how if you come to rely on it, then you will end up worse for wear, shall we say. So recently I made a video on golf and why I dislike golf, and the video has it's done well in the numbers, but people find fault in my approach to the topic, and I like that. I like the fact that people don't agree with me, and there's you know, debate going on in the comment sections, and there's people that kind of go like, oh, this is an incredibly naive sort of take, and that kind of thing, and I don't seek out the approval of other people. I love getting all these really positive comments from people and sort of going, oh, you're an inspiration and all that. But it's not about that. It's not, for me at least, it's not something that I need to, you know, fill up my motivation meter. Say you've got a motivation meter, right? And you've got other people that are saying, hey, good job, man. And then it goes like that. And he goes, wow, that was amazing. And he goes up a little bit more. And he goes, you are an inspiration to me. I've managed to get so much done thanks to you. But we're like, oh, that's a nice one. It's nice to have those sort of things, and it is lovely to hear these comments from people, and it's a nice little feeling inside. But if you come to rely on that kind of feeling, then if it gets taken away, then you are going to be quite sad as a result of it, because you've come to rely on this external validation. And you can't just go out there into the world and expect other people to prop you up emotionally. You've got to go out there and do it yourself. You've got to be you've got to be your own person and not worry so much about what others have to say on what you do and how you do it. Because if you kind of let other people get in the way, then you can end up just quite upset, really, just in general. And this is a video about avoiding that. So it is unavoidable, because you know we aren't all consistently on top. We all have dips and we all have peaks, and we have valleys and peaks and valleys like that. And we all have outside situations that will cause turmoil within our own lives. So, you know, if you're going through some hard times, then the external validation of others is actually more valuable, because it helps you slightly more. And you see it as more valuable. That's what I mean. You see it as something that really helps you out a lot more. If you're feeling really depressed and someone comes along and says, oh, you're doing so well, that feels a lot better than if you're already doing really well and someone comes along and says, oh, you're doing really well. So you kind of go, oh, yeah, I kind of knew. And it, you know, as you kind of go through life, you will come into, you know, peaks and valleys, and sort of feel differently about other people's approval of yourself. When you are on top of everything, you are able to just sort of brush it all off and brush away all the negativity. But when you are kind of feeling down and you're right in the dumps, all of that stuff, if it's a valley like that and people are throwing like, hey, you suck, man, hey, that was terrible, that's all filling that valley, and it all gets on top of you, and you don't want to let that happen. How can you avoid that? Well, I think be kind to yourself is a very good start. Don't worry so much about your own failures, because we are all failures in various ways and forms. Nobody is perfect. Nobody goes through life waking up at 5 a.m. every day, doing everything perfectly, you know, ascending the ladder and is liked by all. You know, nobody's like that. Nobody is the absolute golden child that everybody loves. Everybody has their own flaws and failings and things that they want to hide away and things that they're embarrassed about. And that's part of human nature, and that's okay. It's okay to feel like that. And if you try and separate yourself from others in the sense that you see everyone else as being perfect, but you are a failure, that is going to make it so much harder for yourself to actually rise up to whatever challenge it might be that's coming up in your life. And it'll make it so much harder to claw your way through the logistics of your life, you know, getting a driving license, or getting a new job, or saving up for a mortgage, or trying to find a lover, and all that kind of stuff. If you let the opinions of others get to you, then you will paralyze yourself and be kind of unable to do much. And if you allow the opinions of others to dictate what it is you do, then you're not living for yourself, you're living for other people. And if you're just living for other people that you don't approve of, and they don't necessarily approve of you, then you're all just playing this game of chicken, where you're eventually just waiting to be caught out. And you don't need to suddenly become a success in order to avoid this. You just need to be confident in your own abilities and be confident in your own personality, because there's a brilliant personality inside of you somewhere. Even if you're an extremely introverted person, and whenever you try to talk to people, you feel like you can't, and you feel like you've got something that you really want to talk about, but you don't, because you're embarrassed about it, or you think that everyone's just going to tell you, shut the hell up. You know, they might, and if they do, then that's their problem, not yours. That just means that they're a knobhead, right? Just go out and try and do well by others and do well by yourself. And if you do that, then you will end up so much happier as a result, because you won't be so worried about the, the endless improvement of the self that we are all kind of trying to do. We're all trying to fix what we see as being wrong with us in various ways. And we all are trying to, like, oh, hang on, let me give you an example. Like when I was quite depressed and all that, right? I was a very quite closed off, quite mousy person, and I would go to hang out with my friends, and I would be sat there, kind of in the corner, just like, stuck in my own head, and all my thoughts kind of going on. It's like, I'm all this and this and this, and I'm just remembering all the worst things about the world and about myself, whilst we're trying to have this fun conversation about various things, and then I'll occasionally chime in like, yeah. Oh yeah, do you remember when I can't remember what it was. And then you can't remember what it is, and then you kind of sink. You get that sinking feeling socially. That ends up happening. And that was a really difficult thing to sort of overcome, because how do you be yourself? How do you be the truest version of yourself? That's something that's up to you to figure out. That's something for you to decide, because it's your decision, it's your life. Do you want to be someone that does this? Do you want to be someone that's much more comedic and jokey and like that? Or do you want to be a much more earnest person and say things kind of as you feel them and be the person that people go to for those like heart-to-heart conversations? Or do you want to be the person that people go to for the laughs? And you can be both, and you can be in between, you can be something else entirely that I haven't even thought of, and it's completely up to you in terms of how you want to do that. But what you shouldn't do is be someone that seeks the approval of others, because if they don't approve of you, then your own self-worth is denigrated by your own subconscious and by your own brain, which will suddenly start to work against you. So you don't need the approval of others, because what other people think of you is completely fucking irrelevant. It doesn't matter whatsoever, right? If your boss hates you, right, then you're gonna have to figure something out. If your parents hate you and you're living at home, just try and, keep the peace and just try and do as well as you can. But don't let their negativity towards you get you down, because we're all in this together at the end of the day, and it's better to realize that we're all failures in our own ways, and we've all got our own flaws, and we've all got things that are wrong with us, and we've all got problems, and we've all got things that we can improve on, and that's fine, that's okay. We're allowed to be like that. We're allowed to have these faults, and it's a good thing, because it's part of human nature. If we were all perfect specimens, wouldn't the world be so much less interesting? Do you ever have some hardship, and then you come out of the hardship and you're kind of glad that you went through that? Or say you suddenly have to rush out for something that like completely unexpected. So now you're out and it's like, oh God, I'm so stressed out about this thing. And then you get back and you might have managed to get another little wee thing done. You might have, because you were passing the shop, now you can do the shopping that you were gonna have to go out and do anyway. So you kind of kill two birds in one stone. So you kind of come back and you're better off as a result of that hardship. So it's good to go along through life, taking the force that comes your way, taking that hurricane and just standing there and taking it, because that's the journey of life. That's the journey of us. And yeah, I think that's going to be all from me. Thank you so much for watching this. Hope it's made you feel somewhat better. If you are actually clinically all depressed and that, find a therapist or something, because and stop relying on these little fucking YouTube videos, because I do try to inspire, but I can't help with something like that. When problems get that large and overwhelming, you need specialist help. And yeah, thank you so much for watching this. Have a great rest of the day. Go talk to someone and just if they kind of go at a joke you made, do take into account, like, was that joke actually funny, or did that person just not have a sense of humor? And try and figure that out for yourself, and try and figure out the best version of you, because the only person that you need to seek approval from is yourself. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye. Hey up everybody, my name's Joshua Morrison, Director of Johnny Moz's Lessons in Confidence, and today I want to talk to you a little bit around two philosophical concepts that are quite diametrically opposed, and how having a little bit of both in your life and using both of them in different ways can help fulfill your life ultimately. And those two things are Stoicism and hedonism. Now, to give you a quick overview from someone who is not an expert on this topic whatsoever, don't come to this for any kind of actual philosophical advice. Go watch some actual, philosophers talk about it. But first off, you've got Stoicism. And the idea of Stoicism is essentially being someone that can take the force of a gale force 5 hurricane and just stand there like that and not fall back like that, right? Obviously mentally, not physically. Stoics tend to be very much about self-improvement. They want to improve themselves for the sake of the future. So a lot of it is around sacrificing present-day happiness for long-term fulfillment. And hedonism is very much the opposite of that. And hedonism is about sacrificing future long-term fulfillment for short-term happiness. So there's a few different types of hedonism. The first one is called folk hedonism. And it's very much a selfish kind of way of looking at the world, and it's very much just whatever feels good now, do it. And that's not kind of the hedonism that I'm talking about. I'm talking about a type of hedonism called, I don't know how you pronounce it, prudential hedonism, which is taking a bit more of a nuanced look at hedonism, where it's a bit more about, obviously you need to sacrifice some short-term happiness for a bit of long-term fulfillment. But at the same time, do make sure that you are staying in touch with your present self and making sure that your present self is content and satisfied and all that jazz. So if you go around life just living in the moment, then you're going to not progress very far, because what's going to happen if you don't plan anything out and you don't go out there and try to fulfill your long-term expectations. For instance, my long-term expectations are quite generic. They're, get married, have a couple of kids, and raise them well and be able to support them, and all that kind of stuff. A very basic providing mentality, and being able to have them kids and see them run off into the distance and have fulfilling lives of their own would bring me fulfillment in the long term. But at that time, when I'm doing it, that would be short-term fulfillment, but it would be good because I have worked so hard to get to this point. At the moment I make films and I make music and that kind of thing, and film is very much the equivalent of working really hard, passing your exams, getting qualifications, getting a good job and working really hard. And I also make music, and to me making music is like taking crack, because if you take crack, not that I've ever done crack, but if you take crack, then you're going to be very happy in the short term, but it's not necessarily going to fulfill your life going down the line. So when I make music, I'm chasing that short-term happiness, because I can just whack out a song in a day and I can listen to it and I can put the headphones on and go, oof, bloody hell, I made that. And with a film, it's very much a case of bringing all these people together for a singular vision, doing the vision, having to get up early, having to sort so many things out behind the scenes, paperwork and release forms and, risk assessments and all that kind of thing. And, editing the whole film, working with, dozens and dozens of people, and then trying to get it screened somewhere. And then when you're sat down in the screening room and you see your film on the big screen, that is the result of an awful lot of hard work that leads to long-term fulfillment. And I think that you need to have a good balance of hedonism and stoicism. You need to be able to engage with the present and make yourself happy in the short term in order to reinvigorate yourself so that you can continue to work towards your long-term goals. So if you are just someone that is just working, all you do is you get up at 5 a.m, you go to the gym, you go to work, you do this, you come back, you only ever eat healthy food, you never eat anything that's like a treat for yourself, and you never treat yourself to anything, then you might feel a little bit empty inside, like you're just grinding out this routine, and why am I doing this? For what purpose? And that sense of purpose gets lost over time as you keep doing it, right? But hedonism can be a semi-answer to that. So I'm obviously not saying become a full-on hedon. Don't just like eat junk food all day and just sit in bed watching like Family Guy and just smoking weed and doing all that, because that's not going to bring you any happiness in the long term, and you will get very sick of it and you'll become very, very unhappy as a result. And then when you actually try and get back into the struggle of life, you will find it so much harder than it needs to be because you've been out of the game for so long. But if you have a nice delicate balance of both of those things, then you'll be able to go through life semi-happy, fairly happy as you can be, barring any, say, mental ailments that you might have, depression, anxiety and all that notwithstanding. But you can definitely balance your life to have a combination of long-term fulfillment and short-term happiness. So, for instance, if you work at your job all the time and you're saving up bits of money and you kind of hate this job and you feel like you'd love to take on a job that pays less so you have more free time, well, I think that you should do that if you can financially do that, because it will mean that you have more time to actually be with yourself and do the things that you want to do, because we only have one life at the end of the day and we need to actually go out there and make the most of every waking moment of it. Well, not necessarily every waking moment of it, but as much of it as we possibly can, because otherwise, you know, you're gonna look back after, you know, however long it is that you spend grinding out life and being the full-on stoic, and you're gonna look back and you're gonna sort of think, wow, I've got the long-term fulfillment now, but I never had anything along the way. You know, and you'll get to that point and you'll sort of feel quite empty inside. And if you engage with short-term happiness, then you will be able to take those little breathers as you continue your way through life, and you'll be able to sit there and kind of just go like, this is very difficult. You'll be able to kind of sit like this and just be able to go, oh, that feels good, that feels nice. And if you can have this sort of nice calming moment where you just don't have to worry about anything in the world and you can just look out and just enjoy the present, then you'll be able to get back, and sometimes the duller moments won't seem so dull because you'll have reinvigorated yourself with some true short-term beautiful experiences that will help you refuel for the future. And then when you get to the struggle, like right now when I have to get off this thing, that struggle feels a little bit more interesting because you haven't been struggling all the time. You know, you've had some moments of calm and you've had some moments of chaos. And I've been trying to do this video a few times. I've done this video about 4 times now, and it felt like every time I was getting onto something that I can't quite keep track of this sort of mentality. And it probably feels like that to you going through life, that you can't quite keep track of your various ideologies and how sometimes they might overlap and sometimes they might conflict, but you still feel them all very true to yourself. And it's a case that you've got different mentalities throughout different parts of your life. When you're working and grinding all the time, you might have that quote grind set. But if you have that all the time, and if you're just grinding all the time, say in a video game, you know, because the word grind comes from grinding video games, which I find quite funny because it's all about life and stuff and about, you know, experience in life, but it comes from a hedonistic thing of playing video games. If you just grind all your life, you're not going to have any fulfillment. You're going to end up quite empty because you're going to be pushing people away. If you're say, refusing to hang out with people so that you can just work all the time, and if you're just putting the grind before any kind of short-term happiness, then when you actually get to that long-term thing, then you're going to be left very unfulfilled, despite the fact that it feels like it should feel good. And it's because the journey is the most important thing, not the destination. And this is the big journey of life that we're going on together right now. You know, at some point you'll probably stop watching me, you'll start watching another YouTuber who might do similar things, or maybe in the future YouTube won't even be the thing and it'll be a new website and you'll be on that and you'll be watching different people. And mentalities will change, philosophies will change over time, but at the same, always what will be there consistent is going through life. You'll always be going through life until the day you die, and all you can do is try and make the most of it. All you can do is try and go out there and be the best self that you can possibly be, and a good balanced self, because if you don't balance it, then what are you essentially? Are you your work? Are you your comfort? I don't have the answer to that question. That's something that you've got to figure out for yourself. For me, at least, I try and balance, hedonism with stoicism. To me, that is the work-life balance, as it's often shortened down to, as it's often referred to as. And I think it's incredibly important to have a good work-life balance, as does basically everybody on the planet. But at the same time, people always use that as a way to emphasize the work side of that. And, they'll occasionally go, oh, you need to have a work-life balance. After you've, kind of worn yourself out completely. Don't let your battery get to zero, because then, you're just unhappy all the time. You're either working or you're like this, recovering from work. You need that in-between time, and you need to figure out a way of achieving that in-between time. And if you're someone who is incredibly busy, take some time for yourself. Take some time to not worry about things so much. And even if you're like a chronic worrier or workaholic, then try at least. Just try and maybe take a day for yourself, or even just a couple hours, just to sit down, watch some dumb YouTube videos, or go out and get a good frozen pizza. Get the nice one. Get the one that's like £4 as opposed to the one that's like £1.50. Or make yourself a nice meal, or just do something like that to keep yourself going, a treat that you can look forward to. Because that long-term fulfillment is certainly something that you can look forward to, but it's not something that you can rely on as your aspiration for all times, because it's just one goal. For me, starting a family and having a couple of kids and all that, that is one goal, but it's so far away. I need to first earn enough money. I need to get a good place of my own. I need to get a mortgage. I need to do all this sort of stuff. I need to get a steady job, and not one where some months I'm earning much more than other months. I need to stabilize my life in certain ways. And, I need to get a driver's license. I need to do all these kind of things. But if I spend all my time looking to that long-term fulfillment, that long-term goal as the thing that I'm looking forward to, I'm going to lose track of myself at a certain point, because that's the only thing that I would have to look forward to. So instead, I set little goals along the way, like completing this film is going to be a great little thing for me. I'd love to go to the Cannes Film Festival next year, not even to have my own film screened or anything like that, because I don't really believe in that kind of thing. I feel like it's kind of the bourgeoisie of the filmmaking community, and I don't exist to please them and to do things for their approval. I do things for the sake of my own fulfillment. And maybe that's fine. That's all right. That's something that you can do. And those little fulfillments will lead me along the way to getting to the ultimate destination, which is my long-term goals. And the same thing applies to you. Find little things along the way that make you happy and engage with them. And use those things to, give your life a little bit of meaning. Because if you constantly chase that greater meaning out there, then you're not going to find anything. And then say if you don't end up getting to a point where you've achieved your long-term goals, this whole journey where you've tried so hard and you've put your whole life into it, it's going to feel even more devastating than it already would be if you didn't put your entire being into it. Don't put your entire self into it. Don't necessarily give 100%. You don't always need to give 100% to everything all the time. And certainly not, that bullshit that they do at work where it's like, ooh, you need to give 110%. It's like, you can't give 110% to anything. That's not how mathematics works, So the way that I'm going to close this off is I'm just going to say, you're doing all right. Everything's fine. And don't worry so much. And enjoy the rest of the day. And I really do mean it. I mean, enjoy the rest of the day. Do something that really makes you happy. Do something that really satisfies you. That's what I'm doing. And thank you so much for watching this. Please leave some comments in the comment section if you agreed or disagreed with various parts of this video. Let's get a bit of a dialogue going. I actually made this video in response to a comment that disagreed with my approach to stoicism and hedonism, and when I explained it a bit more, he kind of went, oh yeah, fair enough. So I thought maybe there's a bit more to discuss here, so that's what this video is, and I'm too big for this slide. I'm not going to be counting that as a short-term bit of happiness. Thank you so much for watching. Hey up everybody, my name's Joshua Morrison, Director of Johnny Moz's Lessons in Confidence, and today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about burnout because I've been really pushing myself quite hard the past week or so, and it's started to feel like I'm starting to feel the negative impact of doing so much and trying to put too much on my plate. And I wanted to kind of take a breather and just kind of explain what can happen when you do try and do too much and how you can try and balance your life, because as we all know, if you don't have a solid work-life balance, then you're going to end up quite an unhappy person. Even the most workaholic type of person needs that downtime in order to be able to really do the best that they can and to really make sure that they achieve their goals in the best possible way. Because from previous experience, I have really overestimated my own capabilities, and that's led to a lot of scrambling around to try and just about get everything finished, and it leads to a very unsatisfying life where you're just kind of working for the sake of it. And like, for instance, I'm going to give you an example. In 2018 I worked at a job where I had to do 72-hour weeks, and that was 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday, and by the end of the 5th day I was absolutely knackered. I hated that job, and it was quite a physical job as well. There was a lot of moving stuff and like that kind of thing. It wasn't just an office job, so it was a very physical bit of activity, and so I was left tired all the time. And whenever I was outside of work, I felt like I couldn't enjoy my own life because all of what I was doing was going towards this job. And after a while you start to forget that you're even getting paid. You obviously know you are, and that's why you're doing it, but it starts to become an afterthought to just the generic grind. And I think there's a difference between following your passions and just grinding them out. And I wanted to use this kind of sort of setup where I'm kind of, whoa, like that. You're gonna get a few of those, right? And there's that going on, so it's quite intense, you know? And so, yeah. So there's people over there that are kind of asking if I'm all right, which is a good metaphor for real life, because if you are working so hard and you know the signs of burnout are visible, you can see the bags under someone's eyes. You can see when they're a little bit frantic and a little bit manic, and like they're going so quickly, their mind is rushing all the time, and their mind never slows down. It doesn't get a chance to slow down. It's almost like the person isn't allowing their own mind to slow down. And if you do go at things that fast, think of it kind of like a car, right? I know if you drive a car like quite fast, you get to go in a higher gear, and if you're in a higher gear, that means you're slightly more fuel efficient, right? But there gets to a point where you start to drive dangerously. If you're driving at like 110 miles an hour for a long time down a motorway, even if you're going down the Autobahn where there's no speed limit, you don't want to be going down that Autobahn at like 110 miles an hour all the time, because you're going to come to traffic at some point, and you can't just speed your way through that. And traffic in this example is just your own mental state. You know, there will be times when you're driving down the road and it kind of feels like there's nothing that can stop you and you're invincible and you can take the world on, you know? And then you might come to some traffic, and it might be a real event that happens that quite humbles you, a failure that makes you sit back, slow down and take stock, or it might just be a mental fatigue. And if it's either of those things, you have to slow your car down. You can't keep driving at 110 miles all the time, because if you do, you are going to crash, and you really don't want that to happen. I suppose crashing in this context wouldn't be nearly as bad as if you crashed an actual car going at 110 miles an hour, because that would be pure death. This would just be a mental crash. And I've crashed mentally many, many times before because I've tried to put too much on my plate. And I'm sure you have as well. And I'm sure that if you're watching this video, you might be thinking of times when you have done that, and you know, maybe you romanticize that quick pace when you were driving the car super fast, and now you're maybe driving at 30, 40 miles an hour, you know, and you're kind of thinking, I'd like to get back to that, and I'd like to figure out how to stabilize it and how to do that thing in a way without having to resort to this mania, with this, you know, overworking myself and, you know, over-expecting with your expectations, with trying to do too much with not enough. And it's a very, very, very real problem. And it's a problem that, you know, gets talked about, but in the sort of way like, ooh, you can do it, you can do it, you can get back on the horse. And yes, you can get back on the horse. But I think it's very important to know that once you're on the horse, you need to learn how to ride that horse in a very safe way so that you can actually go forwards and achieve your goals in the long run, because this is what it's all about. You're trying to achieve your goals in the long run, and you've got, you know, your little goals that you come across along the way. Say if, for instance, me doing this film, Johnny Moz's Lessons in Confidence, the main goal is to finish the film, right? But along the way, there are little goals. Like I had to go do the costume design thing with Eva. I had to go meet various people, the producers and the directors and the writers and stuff like that. And I had to go meet them and have a talk with them. And that was a little achievement. And then I had to go and do the first day filming, the second day filming. And those are all little achievements. I had to, you know, buy little bits of equipment and here and there. And that's a little achievement. You know, I have to come out and do these videos. That's a little achievement, you know. These little achievements along the way keep you going for the big achievement, right? Which is finishing the film. In your case, it might be, I don't know, maybe you want to change careers from one thing to the other. And in order to do that, first you need to maybe get a qualification. You might need to go on a course, and you need to do every day of that course, and you need to study and all that kind of stuff. And then once you've studied, then you need to start applying to jobs in this field, and you maybe need to do some volunteer work so you can get some experience in this industry that you're trying to break into. That kind of thing. So you need those little goals along the way. And as long as you are managing your goals realistically, then you can stay on the horse in a fairly stable manner. But if you don't do that, you will end up falling off of the cliff, right? Which is, I think this is why this is such a fun metaphor, because I could fall off this at any moment if I lose my balance. And that's part of what life is. It's a balancing game, and it's about trying to make sure that you can actually do things in the most efficient way possible, but also in the most holistic way possible, so that you're actually getting things done properly rather than just rushing things for the sake of it, for the sake of trying to get it done. You don't want to just go through life just trying to get stuff done, because then what was the point of getting that thing done in the first place if it doesn't further a certain goal? If you're just doing stuff to do stuff, then you might as well have stayed home. You might as well have just done nothing, you know? And as long as you're furthering your life aspirations, and as long as you're getting to a place where you want to be, then you are making progress. And as long as you're making progress, then you're doing good. And not every day needs to be a huge day where you make so much progress. And if you try and expect that, then you are going to fail, and you're going to burn out, and then you're going to end up having days where you do nothing, and you end up kind of resenting yourself for it. And that is the really dangerous downward spiral. If you start resenting the fact that you're not getting enough done, then you end up getting less done because you're getting yourself so down over it, and you start feeling like you can't get back on the horse because, you know, you're in such a state that you can't ever get that again. When you can get that again, and it's quite easy to get back on the horse. You just do little things along the way. You do little steps. Even if you do one small thing today to further your goals, you know, even if it's something basic like, I don't know, cleaning your house, or, you know, making sure you actually go out and go to the gym today. Maybe it's you know, you want to do some writing, but you haven't done writing in a while, and you feel a bit rusty, and you feel like everything you write isn't good enough. Why don't you just write something now? You know, maybe keep this video on in the background and, like, you know, just type stuff out. Just type according to your, you know, off the top of your head, and just see what comes out. And something fun might come out from the spontaneity of it, because that's part of what life is as well. If you structure everything, you won't get everything out of it, because, as I've said many times, plans fail. Things turn out differently in real life than how you expect them to, and you need to manage your expectations. And managing your expectations is something that people say a lot, but they never quite explain what they mean. So I'll try and explain what I mean by managing your expectations. So say it's a Monday, and you've got some expectations that you need to fulfill for that week. So first, you need to do your 5 days at your day job. That's something you need to do. Like that, it doesn't matter how much you burn out, you need to do that, right? But then you might want stuff like, you want to start eating healthily. You want to stop buying the frozen pizzas and start making your own food from scratch. You want to get your 5 fruit and veg a day. You might want to quit smoking. You might want to quit drinking. You might want to write something or get back into drawing or you know, maybe you're trying to learn the guitar or whatever. You know, you've got that little hobby that you want to further, because the more that you improve at that hobby, the more fun you start to have with it along the way. Like, say, even if you're like playing a video game, for instance, and that's like the thing that you do in your downtime, the more you play the video game, the better you get at it. You know, when you first play a video game and you're trying to understand the nuances of the way this, like some characters are a bit more floaty and some it's a bit more clunky, and that kind of helps because it's different like games for different purposes. You know, maybe, and over time you start to understand those nuances and you start to react to them and you start to improve at the game and you start to do things very, very easily that you were struggling with beforehand. And the more that you kind of do that, the more that you start to enjoy what you're doing because you're getting so good at it. It's the same with learning an instrument. The better you get the instrument, the more fun you start kind of having with it along the way, because you can, like for instance, if I'm playing a guitar solo, I used to play the most god-awful solos. But now I can play some kind of fun solos. I'm not trying to act like I'm bloody Jimi Hendrix or anything like that, but I can make some fun solos. And when I do it, it's like, oh, it's so good. It's so satisfying and it's so much fun. You know, it's so much more fun than when I barely knew how to play the guitar. But I was having fun the entire way. But the fun piles on top of each other in that kind of way. And you want to be having fun with the things that you're doing. And if you're not having even a modicum of fun, then you should readjust your expectations to something else. If something is such a grind for you, like your day job might be a grind for you, I know mine is, but I need to do it because I need to earn money, right? So I go into the day job and I come back out from the day job and I kind of write those hours off as like, that's just time I'm going to be spending doing this certain thing. But along the way, you can surround that part of your day with little extra successes. Like you can get up earlier and have the shower before work as opposed to after, or you can maybe try and get to the gym on the way to your workplace, or maybe you can, you know, sit down and like have a proper nice meal for breakfast rather than like if you're rushing. You don't want to rush out of work because then you get there and you start performing worse because you're not doing right, because you're a bit tired and all that kind of stuff, and your sleep schedule's getting a bit fucked as a result of it. And all these various things, your health, start to make it so that it's harder for you to actually perform in your life and to further your own goals. So managing your expectations, when I try and think about it, is when you're on a high, when you're getting so much done, when you're in that productive state, when you're on the horse, when you're driving that car at 110 miles an hour down the autobahn with no traffic in sight, know that and be prepared to not slam on the brakes, but to slowly come down from gear 8 to gear 7 to gear 6. And when you're slowing down, have a bit of an idea of, you know, when you want to speed up again, but don't pressure yourself to speed up again. Try and use your slow down time as an opportunity to reflect on the more holistic parts of your life and the more holistic parts of yourself and what makes you you and that kind of thing. It's a good chance to have a bit of a yin and a yang to your own self. So when you're actually driving the car at 100 miles an hour, you're thinking logistically, you're thinking about what you can get done and how you can get it done, and you might be planning your life. You know, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this, and that can be quite fun, you know. And then achieving those goals and getting back and sitting down and going, I've achieved everything that I need to do today. Hell yeah. That's a good feeling. You want to try and get that feeling every day, but you can't always achieve the same amount every day. Some days you're at 100% and you can get, say, 10 things done. But some days you're feeling quite crap and you're really drowsy. Maybe you're hungover. Maybe you're just feeling down in general. And you might only be able to get 20% of what you wanted to get done. Maybe you get 0% of what you need to get done. And that can feel very defeating, and it can make you feel really terrible about yourself. And you shouldn't let that sort of thing get you down. You shouldn't put yourself on this in this trench, dig yourself this trench and then put yourself in it because you're crap and you're terrible and you don't seem to be achieving your goals. Because when you do that, then you're making things harder for yourself when you do have the energy to actually get back up. You don't need to get everything done straight away. You don't need to be productive all the time. And if you chase that all the time, then you are going to burn out and you are going to fall off this metaphor of like standing on the edge, you know? I feel like I'm on the edge quite a lot, right? Because I do have quite a lot that I need to get done. And you might be listening to what I'm saying going, ooh, that's all very well and good, but you know, I actually have things that I need to get done all the time and I'm struggling to actually get them done. And I can't just not do some of them and have a down day and, you know, recuperate and refuel and let my horse rest before I get back on it, you know? I can't do any of that. I need to keep going. I need to keep doing things until the bitter end. And sometimes that is something that you've got to do. Sometimes you have to push and push and push. And the main thing is to not do that too many times and to not allow that to be your default state. Because if you let that be your default state, then you're going to be extremely unhappy deep down when you no longer have something to do. When you've finished your million tasks for the day and you finish up, and you might have that, I've got everything done, but tomorrow I've got to do just as much, and the day after I've got to do just as much, and the day after that I've got even more to do because that's a busy day compared to my normal busy days. That's a super busy day. And you end up catastrophizing with what is going to end up happening. You know, what happens, fuck. What happens if what if something like this happens where you get an unexpected hindrance, like this rock that's just fallen into my eye, ow. What if something like that happens? What do you do in that situation when you're already carrying so much of the load and you're at that teetering edge? What can you do in that situation? All you can do is over time try and slow down gradually and get yourself to a point where you're not needing to do this all the time. And it might, and I sympathize with people that say have children and they've got like 2 jobs to work and they've got all this sort of thing going on, which is, and they can't slow down, they can't stop, and they have to keep going for the sake of their families, and that's their motivation. And all you can kind of do is to try and improve your mental well-being in order to allow yourself to keep going, because your mental well-being is the fuel that keeps your body moving. Obviously, you know, food and stuff and fixing your diet up will go a long way to improving your mental health. So, you know, that can be a good start. You know, start getting some Greek yogurt in, start, you know, having oily fish once a week, start, you know, eating fruit and veg all the time, blah, 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 blah. Maybe pack in the crisps and the chocolates and stuff and save that for a very special treat when you've had a really, you've achieved something great. And what can you do if you've got so much that needs to get done and there's no way of getting around it? I would say that you need to just try and relax, because the phrase that I like, and I'll definitely make a video on this exact topic with this as the title, everything will be all right in the end, and if it's not all right, it's not the end. It's from The Exorcist, and Mark Kermode, the film critic, says it quite a bit, and it's a phrase that really stuck with me. Everything will be all right in the end, and if it's not all right, it's not the end, because it is true. So right now, you probably feel like things aren't all right. You might have issues going on in your life. Maybe your relationship's falling apart. Maybe you feel like your boss is going to fire you at some point, like layoffs are coming. Maybe you feel like your depression is getting worse, and like you start to notice you're getting more anxious around people. Maybe you're becoming more insular of a person, and you've stopped talking to your friends as much, and you know, and it feels like you're going to keep going down this path forever. All you can know is that it's not the end, and this isn't your final state, and you're never in your final state, because there's always something else to do. There's always another thing that you can get done. And the more that you go through life balancing the good and the easy with the tough, the difficult, and the stressful, the more well-to-do you kind of will become, and the more stable your own life will kind of become. if you're going through turbulent times and you have a turbulent energy level, you might, feel really, 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 really down one day, and then you might be on top of the world the next, and that can feel quite overwhelming because you're not really sure what your own expectations are in terms of how to manage them. And when you are in that kind of state, the best thing to kind of do is to slow down, take stock, and be aware of the issue that's going on in your life that's causing this, and try not to overthink about it, but try not to forget about it completely ever as well, because you can't live in denial of your problems and you can't fix all your problems in one go. You just need to know that they're there. You need to know that you can sort them out, but there's so many that I can't do them all right now. So you kind of take stock of what's the most important, what's the most urgent, and what's the least important, what's the least urgent. And as long as you kind of do that, you will kind of go through life in a way that feels like you are getting somewhere and you are getting things done. And as long as, you're managing your expectations and making sure that your holistic worldview is staying true to yourself, that you will be the best version of you that you can be, because that's what we're all trying to do. We're all trying to be the best version of ourselves. Not to sound like one of those bloody self-improvement gurus, but it is good to get out there and get to the gym, and it's good to start maybe going for jogs, and it's good to get out of the house as well. Never let yourself stay in the house too much. And it's good to make sure that you're surrounding yourself with a community of your fellow peers. Even if you're a big introvert, getting out there and having done the odd thing in terms of socializing and making sure that your friends and your family are still there and you're staying in touch with them. As you do all this, your life will become easier, and it will feel less like you're in a big scary place and you are in your world. So I feel like to close this off, I'd like to talk about what happens if you were to fall off, right? What would happen, say, if right now you're kind of like, right? What do you do in this situation, right? Because right now I've fallen off this. I was already teetering on the edge, because this as a metaphor was to kind of show, that you can be stressed and you can be trying to make your way along. This is like the beginning of your life, and this is, getting closer and closer and closer to the now, and you've just fallen off, okay? How can I get back up, okay? I can't get up. I can't do it. I'm trying. I can sort of sit like this for a little bit and then, you fall off again. So this can be a very, very frustrating experience. And this can feel like there's no winning, there's no getting back on the horse. There's no, you've crashed your car, so to speak. What do you do? The first thing, if you've got a car, well, you take it to the repair shop, right? Now that, as part of this metaphor, would be just taking a little bit of time for yourself and trying to get away from the bigger world at large. It's fine to shut yourself off for a little bit of recalibration, but when you start to shut yourself off and you've been doing it for a long time, comes a point when you realize that you need to actually stop, and you need to go out again, and you need to start making sure that you're staying in touch with your outer world and your peers and so on. And now that you've crashed, and this is, in this metaphor, like you've fallen into a deep depression hole, how do you get out of that? There's no easy answer. There's no quick fix to that kind of thing. There's no magic pill that will make you not depressed anymore. And even going to the gym isn't going, or doing that kind of standard thing that self-improvement gurus will always tell you to do. It's not like it's going to immediately fix you, because that is something that's its own grind, and it can take something out of you as well, and it can stress you out. And if you start to fall off it a little bit, then you can, and then you've fallen off from here, and it's like, and then I've fallen even further, right? So you need to get back up to this point so that you can get back up to up here. And there doesn't seem like there's any way of doing it. All you can really do is just be comfortable in your situation. Even if your situation is incredibly uncomfortable, And I know that can sound quite naive, particularly if you're having an extremely hard time of things. Say if you're, I don't know, in an abusive relationship, or you're in an abusive household, or you know, you're working 3 jobs to try and provide for your family, and you're getting up at like 5 in the morning and then getting back at 11 at night, and then having to help with like bits around the house and that kind of thing. And maybe it feels like your marriage is falling apart as a result of all that. This isn't necessarily advice that I can only hope it applies to you, but this is kind of more for young people that are unsure of their place in the world and where to begin, and in an overall sort of context. So all you can really do is you can get to this point. If you can get to sort of here, then you can try and climb, and you're failing, right? You're failing time and time again. Maybe you get up like this and you realize that there's no further that you can go, because this is a dead end. This isn't somewhere that can progress. So you're gonna have to change course. If you're trying something and it's not working, there's no point trying it again but harder, because the more times that you throw yourself at the wall, the more times that you're gonna fall flat on your face. And the more times you fall flat on your face, the less that you're able to push for the burn and actually get up on this thing, you know? So you can't get up like this. You need to get back to your original state. Where were you when you first got up here? How did you get up here? Well, presumably, I'm actually stuck now. Presumably, you started off in a situation where you were doing okay. You were doing all right at some point in the past, and now you're not. And you're trying to get back up, and you're wondering, how can I actually do that? How can I get back up there? It all seems so difficult. All you can really do is you can go back to the beginning and try again from scratch. So in that regard, you would have to do something like this. Back in a sec, here we are. So that was a very quick version. But in this, you would have to take some time away, take some time for yourself, and actually use that time to develop your being and your soul and your deeper inner self, and get a good grasp on who you are. Because if you don't have a grasp on who you are, then you can't grasp life by the nettles without getting stung. And you won't be able to progress, because you'll be constantly there trying to do the same thing again and again. And I don't know how to quite close this off. I just know that the world can be a big scary place sometimes, and all you can try and do is carve out that part for yourself that you can reside in. You need that space, say your car or your horse, or whatever the metaphor is that you want to use. This is a very metaphor heavy video. I hope you've kept up with all these metaphors. All you can do is try and carve that space out for yourself, and say, you know, clean your car, which is probably a metaphor for like clean your house and your living space, so that you're living in something that you can feel comfortable in. And then try and make your home life as good as you can possibly make it. And then move on to trying to improve your, logistical, semi-career, aspirational goals, because those are the ones that you're trying at so hard, and they're the ones that cause the downfall. And as long as you take it slow, you take it easy, and you do things at a pace that you're comfortable at, then you'll be able to stay up here for quite a long time. And if you do fall down again, then you'll know how to get back around, and you'll know how to get back to where you started. Have you ever had something that was, say, really wore on your mind, right? And you kind of solved that issue, and then that issue might have come back again a couple of years later, and you remember how you felt about it at the time, but maybe it feels a little bit better. It's almost like your mental immune system has kicked in, and it's figured out how to make this issue not such a big deal to you. Like, You know, it's a healing essentially. Like if someone brings up something that's really, that was really traumatic to you right at the time of it happening, that's very different to it then bringing it up, say, 10 years later when you're comfortable discussing it in a safe space. So as time goes on, you'll be able to go around and get back up here easier and easier every single time, and it will become part of your routine almost to fall down and get back up. And with that, I'm going to leave you all because I need to figure out my own way down. Forgetting this as a metaphor, I need to figure out how to actually get myself down because I don't want to jump again, that kind of hurt. And thank you so much for watching this. I hope you have a great day and a great life. And I hope that this has been useful to you in some way. I know it was a bit of a rambly kind of video, and I know a lot of these videos are quite rambly, but I hope that you can kind of get something out of the various paths that we take together to come to these conclusions and to these answers. Thank you so much for this opportunity to listen to me go on and on and on. That's an opportunity for me, by the way, not for you, I wasn't saying that. And yeah, have a great rest of the day, and do that little thing. You know, wash the dishes, sort your room out, go shopping for some healthy food, and make a nice dinner for yourself that's got some good fruit and veg in it. And don't worry so much about getting everything done straight away because it can wait. Yeah? Right. This is like an action-packed movie. Whoa! Yeah. Okay. I think we've done it. Hey up everybody, my name's Joshua Morrison, director of Johnny Moz's Lessons in Confidence, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about you, the person watching this video, the individual that you are, and what makes you separate from every other single person that's out there in the wider world. Because at the end of the day, we're all human beings, we all have the same basic 46 genes, you know, we all have DNA, we all have neurons in our brains that are connecting things and emotions to experiences and all this sort of stuff. But there's something about the human nature and the human experience that makes me different from the person that's walking down there further along in the shot, that makes them a bit different from the person that's on that train that you can hear in the background, that makes people on that train a little bit different from the conductor of that train, that makes them different from their boss, that makes them different from some random guy on the other side of the world in Papua New Guinea. We're all human beings and we all share, you know, experiences such as happiness, sadness, anger, frustration, stuff like that. But we all handle them in different ways and we all approach these issues in different ways, and we all have different issues that prevent us from going through life the way that we might want to. We all have dreams and aspirations, and we're all trying something no matter who we are. Like, we're all doing stuff, we're all trying to be some sort of version of ourselves that we see as being pretty good. And, you know, obviously there's exceptions to that in terms of like people who have different mindsets, and people will approach this topic in very different ways. But at the end of the day, we're all trying to be, you know, decent human beings, more or less. I mean, psychopaths and stuff, I suppose they're not. I don't really know how that sort of thing works, to be honest. So kind of derailed the point of the video right there. But we're all human beings, right? Every single one of us is a human being. We're, you know, hands, feet, knees, shoulders, heads, toes, all this sort of stuff. And importantly, brain, heart, lungs, all that sort of stuff. We all have different, you know, ailments. We all have different strengths and weaknesses. We all have different likes and dislikes. Some of us like Italian food. Some of us like French food. Some of us like Spanish food. Some of us like Indian food, right? So we are all very, very different people. And I think what is very easy to sort of get lost in is the idea of the self within a larger context. So I know in Western civilization, the idea of sort of selfishness or the concept of the self is a bit more important compared to in like Eastern sort of cultures where a communal sort of togetherness is what's emphasized. And I think obviously you need both, because you are not you if you don't have the people around you to help make you the you that you are. And they in turn can't be the truest version of themselves without you helping them make themselves them. Think of the last time that you had a friend who was in need and you needed to talk about something, and you sat and listened to him, and you tried to empathize with his situation, even though you'd never been through anything even close to that before. And you patted him on the back. You said, there, don't worry about it. Like, I'm going to try and help you out. All that sort of stuff. And then think of times when you've needed to be vulnerable in front of others as well. We're all doing that because this is a large community sort of driven species, really. I mean, that's what we are. I mean, no man is an island, as they say, and we do try to be one with each other. And I think getting to the Western versus the Eastern philosophy on this, on the idea of individuality versus a communal oneness, I think you need both, really. Like, they're both emphasizing different things, but I think we need to emphasize both of these things with equal importance, because like, I'm not going to pretend like I'm any kind of expert on Eastern philosophy or Western philosophy or philosophy in general or any of these ideas. All I can tell you is that it's very important to, be there for your friends, be there for people that matter and all that sort of stuff. And, if you keep doing that, if you keep sort of being there for the people that matter to you, then you're right.
Which way is it to go to like golf links?
To the golf.
Golf links.
Golf links. I think your best bet would be going down that way and then, going down past the bridge and then going straight that way. Then there's a path.
Where's the bridge that goes to the other part?
So it's down back the way you see that little fallen branch there. You go down that way. You go down the hill. There's a guy that's jogging right there. If you turn around, that's the sort of direction. And then there's the bridge right there. And then you just keep following this bridge along, and it'll take you down a foresty sort of path. There's a fallen tree along the way. And then, yeah. Hell yeah.
Thank you so much, bro.
No worries, man. You have a good one, yeah? Take care. See, you kind of helped make my point. I mean, you need human beings to help one another in certain situations. He needed a human being to help him get to the golf links. I need human beings to help me in various times. I mean, I couldn't be doing these videos if it weren't for the people that watch them. I mean, obviously I technically could do them, but I couldn't do them at this frequency. I would need to go back to doing my day job and all that sort of stuff. So everything kind of comes together in a way where we're all human beings that are trying to better ourselves as a collective. We all tend to want what's best for the world. Even like the most selfish people probably want, even though they would prioritize themselves over everyone else, if they had the option of let everyone just be fucking happy, I think they'd probably take it, I mean, I don't think we want to just actively make life for other people worse for no reason whatsoever. Oh, hello. Oh, sorry, I forgot that's a thing of aggression. If you kiss at a dog, it's a thing of aggression. They see it as a threat. So that was my fault. I was thinking of cats, when you kind of go with cats. So anyway, I think the people kind of coming past are helping to make my point with regards to the fact that who you are in relation to other people is just as important as who you are in relation to yourself. Because if you get too deep into the individuality side of things, then you become quite a pretentious person that is very, in love with oneself, very arrogant, very egotistical, and very, self-centered, because you are quite literally self-centered because you are basing the experience of humanity around your perspective, aka you, and how everything relates to you. And it is very easy to do that because you are the only conscious that you can see. Technically, I have no way of proving that every other person out there on the planet is actually just as real and has just the same consciousness as I do. But we take it as read that they do because they give such overwhelming evidence that they are capable of thought and emotion and love and all this sort of stuff. So we take it for granted that everyone else can feel just the same way as us. So I think it's one of those things, it's kind of like almost like believing in God in a way, where people who believe in God, it's the belief in that thing that helps to ground them, is the way that I'm very, very badly explaining it. And by the same token, if you see that everyone else is just as capable as you in various forms of expression that are important to you, then you need to have that little belief in order to have that belief rectified. Because people who believe in God, they believe in God for a reason, because they've felt his presence in some sort of form or another, And by the same token, with this human experience sort of thing, you need to be rectified with the emotional connection to others. The more friends that you sort of gain and lose, and people that you meet and acquaintances you find common ground with that's then become friends, the more, you know, I don't know, familial ties that you get in touch with, and all these sort of things, they will all build up the you that is you. Think about, like, I don't know, think about a film that you liked, that someone took you to the cinema to see because they were like, you got to see this film in the cinema, you'll love it. And then you went and you did love it. And it kind of became a little bit of a part of your personality almost. And you were telling other people to watch it. And then like people kind of associated you with like liking that film. Obviously you had more personality traits than that. I'm just using this as one example. But that was something that came from outside of yourself. If you were just an island and you just went and had to find every film yourself, you wouldn't find nearly as many. You know, like for instance, a few years ago, I isolated myself for a fair bit, for like a couple months or something. Didn't really talk to many people. And I realized that I was not really exploring new forms of expression or art or anything of real interest. I was sort of cycling through the same couple sitcoms that I always do. Didn't really find anything new that spoke to me, that felt me. But as soon as I started talking to more people and broadening my horizons and broadening my experiences, I started to find more holistic experiences within myself because of them, because of the other people that were involved. And you need those other people to be involved in your life so that you can continue to evolve and develop your own self, your own traits and your own personality, because you know, we're all a work in progress, whether we're 5 years old, 50 years old, or like 150 years old. In the future, people will probably be that age. So we're always developing, we're always trying things, and it's never too late to begin to do stuff, to try and find new things, or to meet new people, or to find new experiences. It's very simple. All you need to do is just get out and explore, see something, talk to someone. Get in that sort of situation, you know, where someone talks to you and you're kind of looking past them, kind of like you want to get out of the situation. Put yourself in a few of those, because at first they are very, very uncomfortable. But the more you do it, the more you get used to it, and the more you kind of gain the little skill of small talk and just vaguely keeping the conversation veering in a direction, even if you let them take the lead and you just play the second fiddle to them telling you something and you kind of nod along, at least you're being told something, you're being taught something from another point of view, another experience, another person. Kind of probably why you're watching this video in a way. Do this in real life. Find a real version of me, someone like me or some other random fucker out there, and have them do this, but not in, digitally. Do it in real life, where you can't just pause the video, rewind what I'm saying, or just tab me out and just like play Roblox or something. I don't know what you do. I don't know what you do with your time. So yeah, just get out, try and find new experiences, because the more that you experience other people, the more that you can develop your own sense of self and your own personality. Because you are not just you are a amalgamation of all the people that you have ever met. So thank you very much for watching this video. Hope you have a great rest of the day, and take care, everybody. Bye-bye. It's fucking freezing. Oh yeah, the things are coming up, by the way. Ah! You didn't see that. I think you did, actually. It was the phone, it dropped down my thing. But yeah, click those, they're good. This one is especially. Hey up everybody, my name's Joshua Morrison, director of Johnny Moz's Lessons in Confidence, and today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the Johnny Moz film as a whole. What's the overall plan with it? Why do I want to make it? What's pushing me to do things, and what's the plan for it once it comes out? And then and generally, why am I making these videos? What's the point of any of this? Particularly because I've gotten some comments. I don't really want to do anything like reacting to specific negative comments, because I have gotten some negative comments. But I don't let them get me down, but I do see them as a way of improving myself and trying to move past the limitations that I know I have at the moment with regards to my ability to enunciate and improvise a motivational message, because I don't have any notes or anything like that. I haven't got a cue card reader thing right in front of me. I am literally just making it all up off the top of my head. And so I got a comment from someone basically saying that was a very bad thing that I'm doing, and that I am basically abusing the algorithm or my audience or something like that by feeding misinformation or disinformation, basically because I don't get everything right. Okay, and I feel like maybe I need to make it more clear that, or maybe it's just that I'm doing such a good job of enunciating and improvising these messages that people don't realize just how off the cusp these are and how utterly uninformed a person I can be. Because none of us are these fucking encyclopedias, right? Or my mate Jeffro is like, Jesus Christ, you have a conversation with him. Some of the facts that he just spits out are just, but anyway, it kind of makes you think, what are you doing this for? And I had to sort of sit and think about, why am I making these videos? Because the reason I started doing them, to be honest, was I did a couple to start with the film, and I thought I would just occasionally vlog about the film, you know, maybe one a week or one every other week. I didn't expect to keep up doing 2 a day. I did one on Central London, why I disliked Central London, and basically it was because I went out to meet one actor, and then there was a 3-hour wait between the 2 actors, and that I tried to sort of message the second actor and say, hey, can you do this time instead? She said, no, she can't. Okay, fair enough. So I've got 3 hours in Westminster, lovely looking area. I might as well film something because I've got the camera with me, I've got the microphone. So I sat down in the park that's just behind the House of Parliament, and I just talked about Central London and how I don't like it. And I think it was quite an unfocused video because it starts to then get into trying to solve the housing crisis and stuff like that. It's probably my most overtly political video. I want to try and avoid politics, even though there's an American election coming up tomorrow, and Jesus Christ, I don't. I'm on the right side of history, by the way. The blue side, just in case, because I'm not. Anyway, I've probably lost like fucking 50 subscribers based off of that. This is what I'm talking about, right? When I say that I'm just doing these things off the cusp. I don't know exactly where I'm going with every point. I don't know, but that's the way that conversation works. When you're listening to someone make a point, you don't know where they're going with the point. They don't know how they're going to conclude their point until they have started. When you start making a point, it makes itself clear to you and to the person you're making the point to what's going on as the point develops, and as you speak out about certain points along the way. It all comes together like a spider making a web. It starts off as this misshapen thing, and it slowly becomes this beautiful web, right? So when it comes to, I'm just checking I'm still recording, sorry. I try not to do that, but I'm nervous. So partially because this is probably the most vulnerable of these sort of videos that I've had to do, because it is a topic that is quite hard to figure out, because you know what you want, but you don't know how to say what you want, if that makes sense. You don't know how, like, you might know, it's like how you know who you are and what your philosophy is, but you couldn't just say it just off the top of your head, you know? It's not just something that's just there. It's something that's more deep-rooted within your subconscious that is the character of yourself. And I don't mean characters in a fictionalized version. I mean like the character of yourself, your personality, right? So why do I make the videos? Well, to start off with, it was because they do well. That sounds very capitalistic and very, I'm just here to get monetized or whatever. And I'd like to get monetized. That'd be quite cool. Getting like little bits of money. I'm not expecting mad money out of it, but it would be really cool to see this little CPM. Because I need to stop. I need to uninstall the YouTube Analytics app on my phone, because you can really get swamped up in just like looking at the bars of views and like the little line charts. And at 10 a.m. every day, it comes out with the update for what yesterday's analytics are. And it's generally like I'm trying to notice patterns and trying to work things out with the algorithm. And as we continue, I will probably make a video about the YouTube algorithm more in depth, trying to work things out. But again, it will be completely uninformed, because that's what all these videos are. I feel like it's better to just talk and not try and give the expectation that I'm an authority on these issues, and shut the fuck up, you're playing. There's planes flying right overhead. It's just really annoying. But this is the only spot I knew that I could just plonk a camera down without like having to really spend ages working on it, and now the train's going, so things go wrong, and I feel like that's part of where these videos kind of come together. These aren't super structured things, they aren't super well put together, highly edited, you know, slick, clean fucking videos. These are quite, I feel like people appreciate the rawness or the earnestness of just, you know, yabbering on, essentially. I think that's kind of what people like. Like if I started inserting loads of jump cuts and like B-roll and all this kind of stuff to try and help make my points better, I feel like it would kind of take away from the experience. That's why lately I've started I started adding like text to the thumbnails, and then I started getting really into the text and like adding things for thumbnails and like tweaking thumbnails and fucking around with them and like that kind of thing. And they started to become like Mr. Beast kind of thumbnails. And so I just reverted course, and I just started uploading videos again with no real thumbnail. Just like, it will just be a clip from this, like me doing that, or like that, or like walk like an Egyptian. I don't know where that came from. So you kind of just do things in that sort of way, and experiment with things and just see what works, see what doesn't. I've tried some little plays with the form. They get 50 views. Okay, I won't really do that much in the future. You try some things and they work really well, so you do a few more of them, and you see that that does continue to do well. You know, you try stuff, and that's the kind of the point of this, because why I'm able to create so many of these videos, 2 a day, is because there's an audience watching. And it's not that I'm not making them for myself, because I am. It's that I'm making them because there is actually, like, people are actually being inspired by them, and I find that really beautiful. Like, I get messages and emails and stuff from people talking about how I've like inspired them, and I feel like I need to figure out how to stay humble as this continues and continues to grow, and as I continue to keep pumping out 2 videos a day, and this audience will grow in size, it seems like, because we're not even a month in, and I've got 1,000 subscribers, and I'm halfway to being monetized with 2K watch time. So, you know, as the year continues and I start to get more fan mail, I start to get more positive comments and that kind of thing, you know, I've never had that kind of thing before. I've always been a nobody. And it feels like I'm about to become, I'm not expecting to become like an actual fucking YouTuber for life or anything, but, you know, the fact that I can just at any moment just get a positive comment, and like I have to just shut that off from my brain sometimes to be the normal self, if that makes sense. It's kind of, you've got to figure out how to go along with that. And that's why I'm sort of making this video, because I have gotten some negative comments, and I wanted to respond to the general idea of them, because, I mean, they do have a point. This is quite low effort content. You know, it is kind of slop at the end of the day, but I feel like it's different from something like, you know, your really basic, uninspired YouTube shorts or that kind of thing. 1, it's all my own content. 2, it's my voice. 3, it's, you know, topics that I'm really passionate about. 4, I feel like the naturalism is making it kind of interesting, and you know, it's not that they look bad. It's not that these are bad looking videos. They're just simple, really. They're just simplistic videos, and that's all they need to be. And I feel like as I grow and get better at making them, I'll start playing with a form. I had one idea, which was to, I wanted to make a video called "The World is a Big Scary Place." And basically I would do kind of like 15 of these videos, but like tie it all around the topic of essentially trying to solve all the world's problems. So, because I walk around, I'm always trying to solve the world's problems, like economics and geopolitics and stuff like that. Like, I do know about politics, I am just not talking about it on here. And that would have been a fairly apolitical video, or it would have been, because it's inherently political, but it would have been a fairly apolitical thing of just trying to solve the world's problems from the point of view of a semi-privileged, lower middle class fucking idiot with a camera, you know? And I feel like that on its own has something to it, because everyone's got their own solutions, and I feel like we all want the world to be a better place, and we just need to try and figure something out, really. That's all we need to do. So I wanted to do stuff like that, and then, you know, the thing is, these do take a little bit of time. They usually take like 3 hours to sort of do, but I also need to hype myself up for them, because I need to actually figure out what to say, what to do. Sometimes a video I hit record and I have to kind of stop and start like 10 times before I get into a flow state and actually do it properly. Sometimes the videos just don't work and I have to just scrap them. Sometimes I record it, put it together, and I just think this is awful. Or like I did one on a bus when I was coming back from Battersea or Clapham Junction or somewhere like that. So I was on the train, then I got a bus afterwards, and I was on the bus. So I was on the top deck of the bus, and there was no one there. And so I had this idea that I wanted to film on a bus for ages. So I sat down and I recorded a video, and I kind of said in the video, I know at some point that someone's going to get on. I'm going to have to wrap this up very quickly. And then that happened right as I was in the middle of a talking point. So I was a bit annoyed at that. And then I looked at the footage back and it was shaky as hell. And I tried to put a warp stabilizer on it and it just made me feel sick. So I couldn't really release that video. Yeah, so, and then there's more videos like that. There was one I did at a train station about like the idea of going home, but I kind of accidentally revealed where I live on that one. So I didn't put that one out. You know, sometimes you end up oversharing, and I now, because I've done this before. I've done YouTube for like 9-10 years at this point, right? All various forms of content. I've done everything from short films to various, you know, vloggy style things to let's plays to meme kind of shit to, you know, more earnest stuff like this. Shut up! Shut the fuck up! Why are they so loud today? Normally I film and it's not an issue. It's just irritating. But I feel like the irritation and the fact that these are issues that are coming through help to add to the point that these aren't meant to be perfect specimens of videos. These aren't meant to be super polished things. These aren't meant to be on authority on these subjects. I don't necessarily know what I'm talking about. And I don't think that that is the issue. I don't see that as the issue. I think you learn more from seeing someone try than you do from seeing someone who has already succeeded and is, you know, reaching down to you to sort of help you up. I prefer to see someone that's trying to climb the wall because you see what they're doing, what's working, what's not, compared to someone who's already at the top of the wall, who's sort of saying, oh yeah, you put your hand there and you put your foot on that brick, yeah, and then you climb up there. To me, watching someone try is much easier than seeing someone who's already succeeded. And that's why I make the videos, and that's why I think as well that they're hitting with the algorithm and resonating with people, because I must not be alone in this, that other people want to see people that don't necessarily have everything figured out, but they're in the process of it. And I think that's where the intrigue comes in, and that's why it's fun. I've seen, and I didn't actually realize that this was a niche. And I started doing the incendiary kind of titles. Like I kind of find these sort of titles a bit lame. Like all this, like, it feels a bit pretentious and all this sort of stuff, but I did it once and it really worked. So now I've started doing it and now I do it and it works. And as I've started doing it, I found that there's a big subgenre on YouTube that are dedicated to this kind of video. Shout out to Little Alex, by the way, who was the first one I saw that really inspired me to kind of keep doing more of these. She does stuff where she kind of talks about various, I think hers go a bit more into the emotional side of existentialism than me. I feel like I'm more about the creative flow and how to manage that from a logistical and personal point of view, whereas her stuff is a lot more philosophical and existential. So if you want to see a bit more, you know, well-rounded worldviews, go check Little Alex out. And yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope I've gotten a general, oh yeah, shit, what I'm doing with the Johnny Mozza film, that's right. Yeah, that's gonna be coming out on Amazon Prime, and I think it will come out on Amazon Prime, and then I'm gonna also have it on a website that I wanna set up where it will be behind a pay lock, right? So you can buy it either on Amazon or on that website that I'll set up. That'll be for the first week that it'll be on there, right? And then after a week, it will be uploaded to full on YouTube to be viewed for free. So you get that 1 week early access if you do pay. And I would prefer you pay on the website because that way Amazon don't get to take a cut. So yeah, that's kind of the plan with it. I'm kind of working it act by act. So I'm about 60% done with Act 1. Once I get Act 1 finished, I'm gonna edit it a lot you know, smoother, you know, tighten things up, improve the sound, and do a quick color grade and stuff like that. I'm going to show that off to a couple people that I trust, and then I'm going to take the feedback that I get from them on where they feel the story should be going, combine that with my own ideas and see if I'm along the same path that I originally laid out, the same, you know, flight map sort of thing. I'm gonna see if that works, and then I'll do Act 2 in the exact same way, and then I'll show that to people, and then I'll do Act 3, and then once I've finished Act 3, I have a plan to just send it out to a couple editors or something like that and see what they do with the footage and take it in different places. I like the idea that different editors would do different things with it, and then we could always just release every cut that they did. But you know, we'll have one cut that will be the main cut, and if you're interested in seeing more, then we'll have like a playlist of them, like an unlisted, like Graham's cut, Sally's cut, Sandra's cut, you know, Megan's cut, etc., etc., right? So you would see like, oh, Sally likes to do more quick things, and Megan likes to hold a bit longer. Oh, Sally used that take, Megan used that take, kind of stuff like that. Because you know how they say that you can give the same footage to 5 different editors and get 5 different films? I've never seen that actually practiced, so I'd like to see what the results of that would actually be. And yeah, going forwards after that, I have many plans, but I will save those for a later date, because I feel like to talk about them now would just be pure juvenile optimism rather than anything that, you know, I could actually action at the moment. So that's overall the idea. Johnny Moz's Lessons in Confidence, and that's what it's called. It's not called Lessons in Confidence, it's called Johnny Moz's Lessons in Confidence. Maybe I should take the speech marks out and just have it Johnny Moz's Lessons in Confidence. Because I like the idea that, you know, maybe you had a couple films, Johnny Moz's something, Johnny Moz's something, Johnny Moz's Lessons in Confidence, and have that as the format. But maybe we won't do that. This is the thing, plans change, things evolve, you see where you're going, you see where you're going to end up. You're going to take yourself somewhere nice, and that's basically it. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have a great rest of the day. Can the planes stop flying, please? And yeah, let me know about any films that you're working on at the moment. I'd love to hear about them. Yeah, I'll try and add them to my folk films playlist. I will add them to my folk films playlist. Yeah, sorry for the unstructured nature of this video in particular, and the rambly sort of thing that I've been doing the past couple of days. I know I've fallen off in terms of my enunciation. I've seemed to have dipped slightly, but that's going to happen. You're going to have peaks and valleys. I'm in a valley at the moment, but at some point I'll get back to a peak, and that'll be soon. And yeah, thank you so much for watching this. If you have negative comments, by the way, do leave them. Just don't be a knobhead about it. That's like, I can take criticism, I can take heat, I don't mind. Just don't be insulting, and certainly don't insult anyone that is actually working on these videos, because if you do that, I will actually be pissed off. Don't insult other people. If you want to insult, you can insult me. That's it, right? And I prefer you didn't do that anyway. But if you have to insult someone, insult me, right? Don't leave all the beautiful people that are working on the film behind the scenes, or other actors, leave them out of it, okay? Well, yeah, that's going to be everything. Take care, everybody. Yeah, sorry about the shot. It's not the best looking shot. I know. I could have done a bit of this sort of thing, couldn't I? Whee! But you know, I didn't really think to, because I was just in the middle of talking. So yeah, it's a cool shot actually. Oh yeah, we're not actually on a tripod, so I can just pull this up and just. Doesn't that look cool? Hang on, let me get up on it. That looks so cool. I wish I could film it properly. You bastards, you're causing me so much grief. All right, let's get down.